kings. Fire. And blood. Dreams didn't make us kings. Dragons did.
The threat of war looms.
There is no war so hateful as a war between kin.
I mean to fight this war and win it.
I will not be thought weak. I wish to spill blood.
And no war so bloody as a war between dragons.
Behold, the traitor dragon Maylis, slain by King Megon!
Our terms are simple. Bend the knee to me, or your house burns.
You were made to wear a crown.
The king does not lack for heirs.
The people whispered when Viserys lived there was peace.
The path I walk has never been trod.
There is more than one way to fight a war.
What we must do now is terrible.
I sought you at high tide. I was surprised when they said you were here.
My castle is a tomb. Empty. Haunted.
The wealth you brought back from Yi Ti and Ashai, inspiring awe and envy. I wonder if any of them knew it was all for her. Queen Rhaenyra wishes to name you Hand.
Even the death of my wife does not content her.
Pledge your peace to King's Landing, then. They will accept it most gleefully.
Rhaenys was not only your wife, the queen who never was, and she flew to Rooks Rest of her own will, in defense of her kin.
And she died.
She died as she would have wished to die, with honor, in Dragonfire, in the way I myself wish to meet my end. You yourself may do as you see fit.
I would make you my heir.
I am blood and fire. Driftmark must pass to salt and sea.
And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of Hour of the Dragon, as we dive into episode 5 and take a sneak peek at the upcoming episode 6, which is less than 24 hours away from now. And it's hard to believe, isn't it, Snug, that we have only 3 episodes left? I mean, I don't know if it's just me, but it seems like the season feels like it just started.
Yeah. It's going by. It seems like we're getting. I'm not quite sure where they're going to end it. It's a bit unclear how they'll take a break for the season, and what kind of cliffhanger they'll leave it off on. But yeah, it's going by pretty quick. Yeah.
That should be pretty interesting, and I've been wondering that as well, especially considering how the story has, how the pacing has been progressing so far in season 2. You look at some of the big events that are kind of on the horizon, events like the fall of King's Landing, the Gullet, some other big battles, and it's going to be interesting to see where they choose to cut this season off. I have an idea as to where I think they're going to cut it off, but it should be interesting to see how wrong I am. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I am looking forward to seeing it. But welcome one, welcome all. So glad to have each and every one of you here with us this evening. And here we are, folks. We are approaching the final 3 episodes of House of the Dragon Season 2, and one of the most highly anticipated storylines of Season 2, the Dragon Seeds. And I know I cannot wait to see the Dragon Seeds. I know a lot of you are looking forward to seeing the Dragon Seeds and some of these new dragons as well. So it looks like it's going to be pretty interesting. Ryan Condal did mention that we were going to get 5 new dragons in Season 2. And so far, the only new dragon we've seen in season 2 that hasn't been on screen in season 1 has been Moondancer and Bela. So it's going to be interesting to see some awesome new dragons stuffed into these final 3 episodes. I'm looking forward to it. I am looking forward to it. Bring on Silverwing, bring on Vermithor, bring on wild dragons, bring on the whole shebang. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
That is what I want to see. And of course, throughout the night, we are going to be talking to each and every one of you in the chat. What did you guys like about episode 5? What did you not like about episode 5? What are you looking forward to when it comes to the Dragon Seed storyline or episode 6 in general? What dragons do you want to see the most? We want to know all of it all throughout the night. And speaking of the awesome chat, let's see who we got in here this evening. We got Kiwi Skirt. What is up, Kiwi Skirt? First and foremost, my friend. Mod extraordinaire. Welcome, welcome, Kiwi. And I am sorry to hear this. Have a great live. Won't be able to make it as I have to deliver soup to my sick daughter. She's fine, just a cold, and gets me to make her favorite soup. LOL. Well, that is awesome, Kiwi Skirt. Not awesome that she's sick, but awesome that that it's not serious, that it's just a minor cold, which is great news. And what an awesome mother you are indeed, delivering some soup to your sick daughter. That is awesome stuff. Kiwi's the best.
Yeah, hope she gets well.
Yeah, hope she gets well soon. Hope she gets well soon. We got Zachary Welch in the house. What is up, Zachary Welch? Good to see you as well, my friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got ACC in the building as well. What is up, ACC? Looking forward to the Dragon Seeds, trying to tame some dragons or lack thereof. Yes, my friend. Yes, indeed. It should be fun. I mean, we know how at least anyone who's read Fire and Blood, you know how bloody they kind of describe the Dragon Seed storyline, or the sowing of the seeds, or the red sowing, as it's referred to in the book. And yeah, a lot of would-be dragon riders lose many limbs and many their lives. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out on the show. How are they going to translate that story arc into live action? Should be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Yeah. Should be good. Callow C says, episode should be named Trick or Treat. Well, if nothing else, it is going to be a little bit of a horror show. That is seems to be on the horizon as well. So that would be fitting. That would be fitting. Got Misty in the house. What is up, Misty? Good to see you as well, my friend. Hi, everyone. So excited about tonight's live event. I am as well. And Misty actually had a really great comment that we're going to talk about a little bit tonight as well, in terms of some very interesting Alice Rivers theories that have been going around. So we're going to dive into some Alice Rivers trippiness at Harrenhal, and dive into some of these latest theories that have been going around about Alice Rivers potentially maybe not even being real. It's been pretty interesting to see these theories develop, and I have gone back and watched some of the episodes, and in particular some of these scenes when Damon is interacting with Harrenhal and the surrounding characters, to see if anyone else is looking at Alice. Do they notice her? So because there have been some pretty interesting points that some fans have been laying out over the week, making a case for Alice Rivers not being real and Damon being the only one that sees her. I thought it was an interesting theory. I mean, so I figured at the very least I owed it to look into it a little bit. So some interesting stuff there. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well. And yeah, Misty had a really good theory on it. A really good theory on it that we're going to dive into. Please address the amount of fake leaks on X this week. Honestly, like it's gotten to the point where I try to avoid X or Twitter like the plague. I'll go on there just to post like my latest link, just to let everybody know. I don't have a big following on Twitter. I've never really been very active on that platform. I've always kind of focused on my YouTube channel. So I don't really have a big following there. I'm not crazy active on Twitter. I'll go on there and, post a link for a live stream every once in a while, just to let people know, hey, we're going live, come hang out. But I tried to avoid the rest of it like the plague, because yes, there are so many leaks and fake leaks out there 24/7 from so many different accounts. And a lot of these accounts end up getting a lot of traction, and it just spreads like wildfire. So I try to stay away from X as much as possible, because yeah, some of the leaks are just bananas, absolutely bananas. So yeah, I have definitely seen them. We got Vic in the house. What is up, Vic? Good to see you as well, my friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Always good to see Vic. We got April May in the house as well. What is up, April May? Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got Leo V in the house. Got the popcorn ready. Yes, my friend. Get the popcorn out. Get the popcorn out. April May says, anyone else wondering why Cole hates Rhaenyra for not leaving, but what? Didn't want Alicent to run away with him? Ooh, interesting. Very good point, April May. Yeah, we saw Sir Crispy Crispin, was very smitten with Rhaenyra in the beginning of season 1 to the point where he wanted her to just run away with him. As far as we can tell, we haven't seen him make that same offer to Alicent yet, have we? So, maybe you have an interesting point there, April. An interesting point there. Yeah, Cole is, every time I look at Cole and his burning red hot hatred for Rhaenyra, it just comes off like the worst form of scorned lover I've ever seen. Like, you can tell he's just he's got jilted X written all over his freaking forehead. So yeah, he's very bitter, it seems, very bitter. And we have a $4.99 super chat from ACACC. Thank you so much, my friend, for the $4.99. I hate how Daemon wastes time rebuilding Harrenhal. By the way, there's a war. By the way, there's a war started. Go help your wife. # drug binge. And yes, Daemon has been going on this Harrenhal DMT trip, as I like to call it. It's been going on for 3 straight episodes now. It looks like it might even be continuing into this episode as far as we know. And yes, some fans, not some fans, at least, in my comment sections anyway, a lot of fans have been pointing out that they're getting a little tired of the Daemon DMT trip stuff. I liked it at first. I really thought the Daemon Harrenhal, Weirwood Vision, Alice Rivers, Witch Queen of Harrenhal stuff, I was really enjoying it for like the first 2 episodes or so, but then it did start to feel like it's dragging on a little bit. And yeah, we want our Rogue Prince back. Come on, Daemon, get off the bench and get back into the game, my friend. Yeah, he let the Brackens school him in episode 5, and that is not like Daemon. He was very off his game there. And then towards the end of the episodes, when the River Lords come in and start scolding him about what happened between the Blackwoods and Brackens, it's a very uncharacteristic like Daemon, where he's like frozen, he's very timid, and obviously Harrenhal is very much getting to him in these visions and all that, but it's affecting him. It's affecting his mental sharpness, his acuity. It's really starting to wear on him, and it was a Daemon I hadn't really recognized before, a very timid and almost scared Daemon at times. So it should be interesting to see him pull out of this and, see when he does return to the Rogue Prince that we know and love, which we have heard will happen. Matt Smith did say before season 2 aired that you're going to see a weaker, quote unquote, as he referred to it as, weaker Daemon at the beginning of season 2, but eventually he would come through it and get back to the true Daemon that we know and love. So the Rogue Prince should be coming back, but yeah, come on, we're waiting. We want Daemon back. We want Daemon back. But yeah, I can't hate on the Harrenhal trip completely. I really did enjoy a lot of the themes that it was playing with at the beginning. I like the idea of Daemon finally having to confront his guilt, which is something he probably hasn't done, very much of. We've seen a lot of characters on the show. They definitely seem like they compartmentalize and push a lot of things down and don't really confront things until they're forced to when it bubbles to the surface. And it seems like that's what Daemon is going through right now at Harrenhal. He's seeing all of his past deeds, his influence on young Rhaenyra and what he turned her into. All of the stuff that he's done. This latest one was a little bit trippy. The whole Daemon mother scene. A little bit trippy.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah,
it was. But I get the feeling, at least my interpretation of it is, I listened to the dialogue during that scene. Not so much what Daemon and his mother are doing, but the dialogue in that scene is what I tried to pay attention to. And all of the dialogue is pointing to Daemon's kind of insecurity that he always felt like he was the more superior brother. And that's what the mother is saying. You are the better brother. You're the better leader, yada, yada. And it seems like that was, and we have seen that aspect of Daemon in the past. Daemon and Viserys, his brother, they had a very loving relationship, but it was very, very complicated as well. They were brothers, but they were definitely rivals on some ways. And we've seen kind of some of Daemon's feelings on that come out this season in terms of not only that episode, but the conversation he has with Rhaenyra early on in the season in terms of he thought Viserys never wanted Daemon close to him because he didn't want people to see that Daemon was the stronger of the two, the better leader. So yeah, it seems like some of those issues are coming to the surface now as well in terms of the brotherly rivalry that he had with Viserys.
Well, how much of that is kind of just the oh, the where he thinks that, but I don't really see that much evidence for it. I mean, Viserys to me was a much better leader, and you have Daemon go out to the Stepstones and screw it up for a while and eventually get the upper hand. But I haven't really seen that he's much of a leader. But maybe I'm seeing it wrong. But that
Well,
to me at
and
least
that's the
was a
thing.
show.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, like when I think of Damon, the first Damon I think of is Book Damon, and Book
Hmm.
Damon is very much a leader. Like he is a leader of men. Even back when he was 16 years old, back during the Council of 101 AC, when Viserys, when Jaehaerys was trying to find a new successor between Viserys and Rhaenys, the queen who never was, or in the book, it's really Laenor's claim that the Velaryons are actually pressing. But in during that, I mean, Damon was 16 years old at the time, and he rallied an entire host of rivermen, a standing army, to press his brother's claim if it came to that. So Damon has
Hmm.
been gathering up men and leading men since he's been 16 years old. So when I think of Damon, I kind of think of Book Damon. He is very much a leader. We saw what he did with the Gold Cloaks in King's Landing. The Gold Cloaks were an absolute mess, just a ragtag group of shambles. But Damon
Hmm.
became Lord Commander of the Gold Cloaks, and he quickly just whipped them right into shape. They became a very formidable standing force within King's Landing. Trained all of them very well. They're all super loyal to him even now. So yeah, I think Damon is a leader, but he hasn't been showcasing that over these last few episodes. And to hear, I
Right.
know the creators, the writers and stuff have been catching a little bit of flack that I've seen, going around over this last week in terms of some of their comments on the inside the episode thing, referring to Damon as not being a leader of men. And I don't know, my opinion personally, I just feel like Damon is a very good leader, but you have to also kind of separate book character from show character too at the same
Hmm.
time. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with his character. I think he is capable of being a good leader. I think Harrenhal is affecting him in many ways right now, whether it's Harrenhal, the Weirwoods, Alice Rivers, whatever's causing this weirdness for Damon. I feel like that is affecting him the most. I feel like once he gets away from Harrenhal, he'll probably return to the Rogue Prince that we know and love. But
Hmm.
yeah, it was just some interesting character choices that they've been doing for Damon in season 2. Some of them I really liked, and some of them, not so much. But that's part of a show, and that's why we love doing these streams, so we can kind of dive into these things, talk about some of the things we like, talk about some of the things maybe we didn't like, and that's totally okay. That is totally okay. All opinions are welcome here. You guys know me. You guys
Hmm.
know me. Is there any truth to Damon seeing Viserys in his visions at Harrenhal? He needs to snap out of it. Yeah, that has been going around. There has been a rumor going around that one of Damon's final visions will be of him and Viserys. And if we look at the trailer for episode 6, the episode that's airing tomorrow, there is a really quick shot that I'll actually pull up. And it looks almost like it almost looks like the same shot that, or a very similar shot anyway, from episode 5, at the beginning of episode 5, when Damon is seeing younger Rhaenyra in the throne room. But we do have this shot in the episode 6 trailer. Here it is. Let me pull this up. And it looks like he could potentially still be having some visions. The DMT trip might not be over yet, because it looks like we do have this scene that was in the episode 6 trailer. And I know it's kind of blurry and hard to see, but it almost looks like this is Damon walking up to the Iron Throne. You can see the swords from the Iron Throne right here, the blades from the Iron Throne. And obviously Damon would not find himself in King's Landing really in this episode. So it looks like he could potentially have another vision in this episode. And who knows, maybe Viserys is sitting in that Iron Throne. So there might be some truth to those rumors, Leo. You might be right. There might be some truth to those rumors. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I guess we have to wait and see. We got Rage Templar in the house. What is up, Rage Templar? Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Let me scroll down a little bit, say hi to a few more of you. I'm sorry if I missed anybody. I try to catch as many as possible, but there's been so many of you awesome folk hanging out here lately. I can't keep up all the time, but I will endeavor to do my best. We got Doc Hayes in the house. What is up, Doc Hayes? My good pal Doc. Always good to see you, my friend. Vala Mogulis and a Valo Dohaidas. Right back to you. Welcome, welcome. We got Caitlin in the house. What is up, Caitlin? Always good to see you as well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I see River Miss Faye in the building. What is up, River Miss Faye? Good to see you, my friend. See MKXD in the house. What is up, MKXD? Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. And welcome, everybody. Oh, we got Frankenstein in the building. I love this account name. I don't know why. I'm a huge Gene Wilder fan. Maybe that's why. But yeah, Frankenstein is in the building. It's not Frankenstein. It's Frankenstein. Still one of the best Frankenstein movies of all time, in my opinion. I love Young Frankenstein. It's just such a good movie. We got Rockers in the house as well. What is up, Rockers? I see my good pal Henry Bemis in there as well. What is up, Henry Bemis? I see Inside the Squared Circle with King Judo. What is up, King Judo? Welcome, welcome, my friend. And welcome to everyone. And yeah, right there with you, April May. Holy shit, Frankenstein! I love your name. Wow, it's awesome. It's one of my favorite accounts. I love when Frankenstein shows up. It's such a good name. Such a good name indeed. But welcome one, welcome all. So good to have each and every one of you. I see you incognito as well. What is up, incognito? Welcome, welcome, welcome. And yeah, we're going to dive into some things now. I guess we'll start off talking a little bit of episode 5, and we'll kind of transport into episode 6 here in a little bit and talk a little bit about what we are hoping to see. But yeah, when it comes to episode 5, I know I talked about this in our immediate live reaction. It was, I mean, I didn't hate the episode. I know this episode's probably been catching the most flack at least from what I've seen in my comment sections anyway. I can't speak to the entire fandom as a whole. But at least in our comment sections, it seems to be a good percentage of the fans were not happy with this episode, but it seems like it was their least favorite episode of the season for some of them, for a good portion of them. And I'm kind of a similar mind. I had some really good scenes in this episode that I really enjoyed. And at times, some things did start to feel like they are dragging on a little bit. Again, when we talk about the Damon and Harrenhal stuff, I really enjoyed it at the beginning. I thought it was a very interesting aspect to add to Damon's character, throwing him on this weird kind of Weirwood trippy hallucination phase where he doesn't know what's real, he doesn't know what's fake. He's kind of forced to confront the sins of his past. It's an interesting character arc. It's an interesting character development. But it gets to the point where it starts to drag on a little too much when we're getting into 4 straight episodes in a row of Damon DMT visions. And this episode will be the 4th episode that the DMT Harrenhal stuff has been going on. So I have been enjoying it, but I do feel like maybe it has been dragging on a little too long, but that's totally okay. But what about you, Snug? When it comes to the Damon Harrenhal stuff, are you enjoying it?
Yeah, no, not really. It is dragging on, and I just wonder some of it if you have an ensemble cast and you have to give he's one of the bigger actors in the show, and are they just having to have him some screen time every episode, but what he's doing in the plot doesn't connect yet, and they're just having to kind of go back and forth just to give him some screen time. Because you'd think that this had kind of like there'd be some payoff to what's going on, and there hasn't really been much payoff so far. It's kind of the same thing every episode with him.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of fans have been pointing out. It's starting to feel a little bit repetitive. So many episodes in a row of the kind of same things without Damon finding any kind of clear answers yet. At least maybe he will in this episode, and maybe he'll find out why exactly he has been put on this kind of DMT spirit journey, as I like to call it. But no, I again, I feel like they've been playing with some very interesting themes. I've been loving the character of Alice Rivers. We did hear early on, I got a lot of inside scoops when they were filming season 2, and a lot of people were telling me that Alice Rivers was really kind of stealing the show in terms of the scenes that she was in. And I can totally understand what some of those reports were coming from. I feel like Gail Rankin is really good in the role of Alice Rivers. So I've really been enjoying her screen time. But yeah, it'd be nice to see that storyline kind of close up and evolve, because Damon's got a lot to do. He's still got to gather an entire host of Rivermen and get in the game a little bit. And we're getting now closer and closer to the final 3 episodes. So it should be interesting to see if this will be the final episode of the DMT trip stuff, and if Damon will kind of fully come out of it in this episode. I get the feeling this will probably be the last episode of the dreams.
Am I
Hopefully.
am I misremembering from the book that they were lovers at some point? Am I misremembering that? Alice Rivers and Damon?
No, that's Aemond and Alice Rivers become lovers.
Okay.
Aemond,
Okay.
yeah, good old Aemond One Eye and Alice Rivers become an item a little bit later on. That'll probably happen in season 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that'll be interesting to see as well. I mean, considering how well they have crafted the character of Aemond, I feel like they're really crafting a very interesting character there. And I think in large part that is thanks to Ewan Mitchell's just amazing performance in the role. Like, that dude was freaking born to play Aemond One Eye. He fits it like a glove. So that's going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think his performance has been the best so far. I'm not a big fan of either the black or the green sides, but of all of them, he seems to be the most interesting of the lot of them.
He's certainly very interesting. You can't deny that. The dude is an interesting character. Every time he's on screen, I'm like, my eyes are glued to the screen every time I see an Aemond scene. Because, again, you guys know me. I say it, often that it's not so much characters I'm a huge fan of, but I am always a huge fan of good actors in a role that really fits them. And I feel like, that's just something I've always kind of noticed in shows and movies that I watch, is it's not always the character that I'm drawn to, but sometimes I really appreciate a really good actor or actress in a role that they just absolutely nail. Like the series in season 1 with Paddy Considine, I feel like he brought that freaking role to completely new levels, way beyond the book, and for the better. And I feel like Ewan Mitchell's doing something similar here with Aemond. He just, I don't know, the actor was just very well suited to this role, I think.
Yeah, he's killing it. Yeah, doing a great job.
Yeah. Yep. Let's see what else we got. What do you guys think is Alice Rivers' ultimate goal, says Alex Sci-Fi Channel. And that's another thing I've been wondering as well. It's like, what exactly is Alice Rivers trying to accomplish from all this? And that's another thing. We're not 100% sure what is causing these dreams. I get the feeling it is probably weirwood-induced. Maybe Alice Rivers has something to do with it as well. But you can see the weirwood vines and groves that are woven all throughout the castle of Harrenhal. And that leads me to believe that Alice Rivers may have been telling the truth when she said that Harrenhal itself was built on top of a weirwood grove that was felled. Because in the behind-the-scenes features for one of the recent episodes, they even talk about it, and they highlight you can actually see some of the weirwood roots that are woven into the foundation of Harrenhal itself. So that leads me to believe that, at least in the show, the weirwood grove theory seems to be true. And we all know what weirwoods can do to people. They're very, very, have very much known for inducing visions of the future and of the past. Many times before, the weirwood net, that is what the weirwood net is at the end of the day. It is a living memory of everything. So yeah, it's been very interesting to kind of try and interpret what are causing these visions in the first place. And yeah, what exactly does Alice gain from all of this? And I guess that leads me to one of the theories that has been going around recently that I had thought was pretty interesting, if nothing else. A lot of fans have been coming to the conclusion that maybe Alice Rivers isn't real, that Damon is the only one that can actually see her. And I thought, okay, that's an interesting theory. That's a pretty interesting theory. As much as I think, I don't know how much I buy into it personally, just because I feel like Alice Rivers is going to have an important part to play in the story later on, especially when she meets Aemond. But if Alice Rivers is just this kind of spirit-like fixture that is maybe attached to Harrenhal itself, it could be an interesting aspect, I suppose. I don't know. I'm always a fan of some new and interesting theories when they come around, and the Alice Rivers might be fake theory, I thought it was pretty cool. So I did go back and try to look at a few of her scenes, and a lot of the scenes that Alice Rivers is in, it does seem like Damon is kind of the only one in the room that even acknowledges her, except for one scene that really stood out to me in episode 5. When Sir Simon Strong comes up to Damon when he's in the hallway to inform him that the Brackens have bent the knee. While he's walking up to Damon, he clearly turns his head and looks right at Alice Rivers. So that was the only scene that kind of gave me a little bit pause about the whole thing. But I think it's a very interesting theory nonetheless. I really enjoy the, the trippiness that maybe Alice isn't real. And I guess that's my question to you, Snug, and to everyone in the chat. What do you guys think about the whole Alice Rivers is not real theory? Do you think there could be any weight to this? Do you think Alice Rivers could potentially be this kind of weird spirit-like figure that maybe only Damon sees? Or do you think she is actually really there? Do you think Alice Rivers is actually a fixture in the castle and has been living there for a while? I'd love to get the chat's opinion on this, and yours as well. What do you think, Snug? Do you think she's real, or do you think it's just a cool theory?
I don't know. It's a cool theory, but I lean towards her being real. And I thought that when she wrapped his hand, I thought she was treating someone else before she wrapped his hand. But maybe I'm misremembering that. But I think it could go either way. I think it'd be interesting either way. Either but if she does eventually become, a lover of Aemon, maybe that would be in his imagination as well. That'd be kind of an interesting twist.
That would be an interesting twist, and that was kind of a, like MKXD here says as well, Alice not being real makes her relationship with Aemon bogus and her witch queendom after the dance dumb. Because that is a good point. Alice Rivers does have some interesting parts to kind of play. Like when she does become referred to as the whole witch queen of Harrenhal, she does have a pretty interesting story arc that kind of takes place for a little while. Like there's a little while that has to pass before the Alice Rivers story kind of comes to a close. So yeah,
Right.
it's again, I like the theory. I love interesting theories like this. I tend to lean a little bit more on the side that I think she is real, but I do like the theory. It is a really cool theory, if nothing else. Bernie says, I think it's Damon's conscious, showing him the consequences of his choices. And yeah, in terms of the visions that he's getting, I do think that's a lot of it as well. Yes, I think, he's being forced to kind of deal with the consequences of some of the dark deeds that he's done in his past, maybe things that he's never really confronted before. I do think that's a big aspect of the visions that he's seeing, for sure. For sure. Damon should know himself, and he is greater than a king who don't need a crown to be acknowledged as a powerful force. Damon is the most dangerous man in Westeros. No man would be so bold to not fear. Absolutely, and that's one thing I've always really loved about Damon is he's never needed a crown to prove how freaking badass he is. He's the prince of the city, the rogue prince, and like you said, the most dangerous, widely regarded in this time period as the most dangerous man in all of Westeros. So yeah, Damon doesn't really need a crown to kind of prove his badassery, in my opinion. He just needs to do it in his deeds alone.
Well, then how do you? It seems like that the Riverlands people are willing to buck him, right? Because you had I get them mixed up, the Bracken and the Black whatever.
Brackens and the
They
Black
didn't want
Wolves.
to.
Yep.
Yeah, they weren't willing to bend the knee.
Nope.
And then even when you had the group of the lords come at the end of the episode, they weren't willing to necessarily bend the knee. So they're not afraid of him for some reason. And maybe it's because of the split in the crown, and it's not clear to anyone who is actually ruling, and so it's not clear who has the force of the crown behind them. So they're a little bit more willing to buck him than they would. Yeah.
And especially when they see that, the Blackwoods are flying the Targaryen banner, into Bracken lands when they're committing all of these kind of heinous acts in terms of, sacking their septs and raiding sacred Bracken lands. The Riverlands, they are kind of very well steeped in the old gods and the new gods, and that's even pointed out in this episode. So they do take things like tradition very seriously. So having like sacred lands and septs, sacked, that probably is something that is widely frowned upon. And if they think Daemon, either okayed that or sent them there to do that purposely, then that might give the Riverlords more than enough courage to kind of stand up to Daemon and think, okay, this is, we're not going to follow you.
Right.
But it's going to be interesting to see because usually you don't really usually see people talking to Daemon like that. He's he doesn't really. He doesn't suffer many fools, I must say, Daemon. Anyone who speaks to Daemon like that, usually they will meet either Caraxes or Dark Sister. But again, this is a little bit of a different Daemon. This Daemon in season 2 is much different from season 1 Daemon. So should be pretty interesting. I think she's real, says Greek Girl. Awesome. During a scene with Simon and Alice disappears. She never reappears after Sam passes her by. I did see that scene as well. A lot of people were pointing that one out. And my only retort to it is at one point, the camera angle shifts to Daemon. and at that point, we really can't see anything that's happening behind Simon. But at first, yes, Simon kind of walks up. Alice walks right behind him, and it kind of almost looks like she freaking disappears there for a second. But then when the camera angle kind of changes, that leads me to believe that is she disappearing? Is it trickery? What exactly is going on there? But I did notice that scene as well, and it was a little bit of a head scratcher. It did kind of look like she almost disappeared there for a second. Yeah. Good stuff. Like I said, Damon never knew his mom, so he's projecting what his ideal woman is onto her. And that could very well be it as well. Like you said, yeah, Damon lost his mother when he was super young and never really got to know her. So yes, this version of Damon's mother that he's kind of conjuring in his mind here, yes, it could just be what his kind of subconscious is conjuring up as the kind of ideal version of his mother. An ideal version of his mother that favors him over the series is where that kind of brotherly rivalry kind of comes into it. But yeah, very good. I like it. I don't think she's real, says Wolf Spear. Awesome, 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 awesome. Good stuff. Warg Witch says Betrayed King. That's been another one. A lot of people think that she might be either a warg or some kind of green seer, which could very well be possible. Harrenhal is, very, very close to the God's Eye, where the green men live and all of that. And Alice Rivers has kind of, portrayed the ability that she has some kind of, otherworldly ability in terms of seeing visions in the flames, seeing visions of the future, which she does in the book, and it seems like she does on the show as well, if that first line to Damien is any indication that you will die in this place. So yes, I like the theory that Alice Rivers is potentially some kind of warg or green seer. I think it would fit her character actually pretty nicely, considering all of the lore that is surrounding her character in the book, considering that there's rumored anyway, that she's been at Harrenhal for maybe a very long time. And with Harrenhal being so close in proximity to the God's Eye, I think it's a really interesting theory that she could potentially be some kind of green seer. And again, like I said, we have seen in the past, the first time we see Alice Rivers, actually, she's pointing out to Damon his future.
Always coming and going, aren't you? And I have to clean up afterwards.
You will die in this place.
Oof. Chills. The foreshadowing. The foreshadowing. And then they have recently dropped this still, and this apparently is a still from the upcoming episode 6, where we see Alice and Damon out near the Godswood, or near the Harrenhal Heart Tree anyway. And here Alice Rivers is with the good old owl in her hand. And we did hear Alice say at the beginning that she's not a human. She's actually a barn owl, cursed to be in human form. So it's pretty cool seeing her there with her pet owl there. I like the symbolism. Let's see what else we got in the chat. We should poll it. Let me see. Let me pull up a poll. I can pull up a poll. Do you guys think Alice Rivers is real? Give me a second, and I can definitely pull up a poll. Because yeah, it's an interesting, like I said, it's an interesting theory. I tend to think she's a little bit more on the real side. I think she has some kind of supernatural abilities, for one. It seems like she is, if she's not directly the cause of Damon's vision, it seems like at the very least she is seeing the visions that Damon is having, because she does mention to Damon in episode 5, it's a shame you never knew your mother. And how the hell would Alice Rivers know anything about Damon and not knowing her mother, not knowing his mother? So if nothing else, if she's not causing these visions directly, at the very least, she's tapping into them so she can at least see what Damon is experiencing, if she's not directly, responsible. So yeah, it's an interesting theory. Is Alice Rivers real or is she fake? Let me get to this poll. I really wish, StreamYard had a quicker way to throw up polls instead of always having to go to YouTube, but the YouTube one will be fine. The YouTube one will be fine. Start a poll. Here we go. Ask a question. Is Alice Rivers real? Question mark. Yes or no? Start the poll. The poll is in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't see it yet, just refresh your chat or leave the stream and come back in. You should see it then. But yes, the poll is officially up, and you guys can now vote. Do you think Alice Rivers is real or fake? And so far, we got 84% saying yes, she is real so far. All right, awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on that poll throughout the night. And yeah, thank you. It was a great idea, Greek Girl. And if you guys like these polls, we'll definitely do some more polls throughout the streams. If anything that you guys like to make these streams a little more fun, we will definitely do some more polls. I always like a good poll. I am not opposed to a good poll. She is a green seer, says Vanessa Lore, and again, I keep kind of leaning into that territory as well. It seems like she is displaying some abilities that is kind of in line with green seers, in terms of being kind of in tune to the weirwood net, seeing visions of the future clearly. Yeah, I think if it's revealed that she is a green seer, I wouldn't be too surprised at all. And I like that theory. I think it's a cool theory. She's a ghost, period, says Incognito. Yes, I love it. I love how the chat is kind of split on this. These are always some of the most fun discussions when the chat is kind of split on these things, which is always awesome. And yeah, I mean, again, I can see it both ways. I can definitely see the merits for both being true. So awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Jess says, I think she is real sometimes. Ooh, sometimes.
Oh, that's another one too. Yeah.
That's interesting.
I can see that too.
Okay.
Yeah, I could see that he does see her in real life sometimes, but then he also sees her in her visions. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because Damon is losing entire portions of time, and Ryan Condal kind of touches on this in the episode 5 inside the episode feature as well. And we've seen that, we've talked a little bit about it in the past, where sometimes Damon will be literally in the middle of having a weird trippy vision. The next thing we know, he's literally sitting at the table with Simon Strong, and it's like he's looking around like he doesn't even know how he freaking got there. And Ryan Condal did touch on that, saying that Damon is losing these chunks of time where he doesn't know what happens. He doesn't know how he got here. He doesn't know how he ended up here and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just there's so much trippy stuff going on with him. And every single time, Alice Rivers is always right there for almost every vision he has. She seems to be in close proximity. I think she's real, but she is drugging him, says Marjan. And that's an interesting theory as well, because we did see, we see her give Damon what looks like weirwood paste, to be honest, but based on the color of it, it looked like she was kind of whipping up some potential weirwood paste and handing it to Damon. But yeah, who knows what was in that drink that she gave to him? Maybe she's drugging him. That's very possible. Very possible. Rip the Dodo Birds is 50-50 on this. Awesome. Love to see it. And again, it's one of those interesting theories that I was kind of 50-50 on it myself for a while. I do kind of lean a little bit more into her being real. But again, I do see the merits for people thinking that she might not be. I think she's real enough, says Doc Hayes. April May says Alice is real, and she has been listening to everything happening at King's Landing that is said in that God's Wood. Ooh, April May. And if she does have any kind of green seer ability, then abso-freaking-lutely, she most definitely has the capability of spying on people if a weirwood tree is in proximity. And we do, like you said, we do know that weirwood tree, the one lone weirwood tree, is still up there in King's Landing down in the Godswood. So yeah, if she is a green seer, then she can definitely be spying on people through the weirwood faces. That's a very well known to be a green seer ability.
Interesting.
I like that. Yeah, I like that.
Cool.
I like that. People believing that theory is what it's like to be Damon at the moment. Every scene, you cannot be sure what's real or not, and that's pretty much the Damon's kind of storyline in a nutshell, isn't it? And I know the writers wanted to specifically convey that Damon was going to have trouble distinguishing reality from dreams or hallucinations. And I feel like it's not only Damon that's going through that, we're going through that as the audience as well. We're kind of left to wonder what's real and what's fake as well. So yeah, we're going through it. We're going through it. Good stuff. Isn't there a ghost at Harrenhal? There's reportedly a lot of ghosts at Harrenhal, but yes, the ghost of Harrenhal, and a lot of people thought that maybe Alice Rivers is the quote unquote ghost of Harrenhal, which again could be another very interesting theory in and of itself. But yeah, Harrenhal. I mean, I really like the Weirwood theory personally. The fact that the House Horror had to fell an entire Weirwood grove to build this just monstrosity, this monument to vanity that they built here in the Riverlands to kind of keep a hold on the Riverlands. And at the end of the day, they were outsiders. They were invaders that were cutting this Weirwood Grove down and building this castle. House Horror were Islanders at the end of the day. They were Ironborn, just like the Greyjoys. They were not from the Riverlands, so they were very much invading the Riverlands when they went and built Harrenhal. So you could totally understand why, if they did fell an entire grove of weirwood trees, why that might make the old gods a little bit angry. The old gods have been known to be very vengeful in the past. They are not shy to be vengeful, for sure. I think she's real since Aemon meets her later, and that's another thing I kind of think of as well. We do, at least if the book is any blueprint, we know that Aemon and Alice Rivers are going to have some very, very interesting scenes together at Harrenhal, most likely in season 3 and beyond. And Alice Rivers is even actually the only eyewitness to the Battle above the God's Eye, at least in the book. I mean, there might be some others who might have witnessed it, some small folk that might have witnessed it in the surrounding area. But in terms of POV, well, not POV characters, but in terms of, dialogue characters or actual characters in Fire and Blood, Alice Rivers is one of, if not the only one, that's kind of an eyewitness to the Battle of the God's Eye as well. So yeah, I tend to lean to her being a little bit real on the real side, but I do think she is probably either a green seer or something along those lines. She's clearly got some kind of abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Alice could be real and only appears to who she wants to appear to. Now that is very interesting, Luna, and welcome, Luna. Awesome to see you. I like that. I like that as well. Like maybe she is actually real, but maybe she only appears to certain people and only when she wants to. I like that one. That one's very interesting. Yeah, I like it. I love the theories, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Love hearing your theories. Hell yes. When Alice says she is trapped in human skin, look at the Boltons now and what they used to do with the human skins. Yeah, the whole bolt-on theory was a very interesting one, and the Boltons were very much known for flaying the skins of people, and even said to have wear the skins of their enemies. And that's another interesting theory as well. I did see a Gray Area, and shout out to Gray Area, awesome freaking pioneer in the A Song of Ice and Fire world. She had a very interesting video. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I definitely will, in terms of connecting Alice Rivers potentially to the ancient Boltons and the whole Roose Bolton bolt-on theory, the theory that Roose Bolton might be some kind of immortal skin changer. And I love the freaking theory. I can't wait to listen to the video and see what she lays out. She always lays out a really good theory. But no, I like that. Yeah, the Boltons have a lot of weird history surrounding them in terms of flaying their enemies, the whole bolt-on Roose immortal skin changer theory. That's an interesting one. And yeah, I like it. I like the connection. I like the common symbolism there. This part of Daemon is poorly written. They show him to be a super insecure mess, and same with Aemon. The two most capable dragon riders are the two most insecure characters somehow. And yeah, and they have been a little bit off their game as of late. I would say Daemon's a little bit more off of his game than Aemon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and this is why when Matt Smith had those comments before season 2 even aired, Matt Smith was saying that you're going to see a quote-unquote much weaker Daemon. And I'm thinking, a weaker Daemon in season 2? Season 2 should probably, if the book is any indication, season 2 should be right around when Daemon is probably at his strongest, where with a weaker, more conflicted Daemon probably coming a little bit later on in the series when the relationship between him and Rhaenyra deteriorates rapidly. I would have thought that would have been a little bit more of a weary, kind of weaker Daemon. So to hear those comments this early when Daemon should probably be at his strongest, yeah, it was a little interesting. It was a little weird to see where they were going to go with his character. And again, I have enjoyed the Harrenhal stuff for the first 2 episodes or so. but it does feel like it's starting to drag on a little bit too long now. So I totally understand if people aren't really feeling Damon's story arc in season 2. Totally understand that.
Yeah,
totally understand it.
He is revealing, or in this episode, revealed a little bit more that he wants to be king, which I don't think that they'd really alluded to up to this point, where he wants more. He wants more from it than what he's getting.
And that was a huge kind of not a huge change, but yes, like you said in this episode in particular, we see Damon not even hiding it anymore, or at least not hiding it to Alice Rivers, straight up going up to her and telling her that Rhaenyra cannot succeed. The realm needs a strong leader. And yeah, I mean, he's going like full on, not usurper style, but he's full on kind of pressing the claim for himself, not so much Rhaenyra. And I guess I never really expected Daemon to take it that far. Daemon, at least, again, whenever I think of Daemon, I always think of book Daemon first, and I need to kind of learn to separate the two, book Daemon from show Daemon, because they are kind of two different characters at this point. But yeah, book Daemon was never someone that struck me as ever really even wanted to be king. I mean, he's the rogue prince. He doesn't have the temperament for it. So yeah, to see him kind of voice that claim in episode 5, to hear him straight up say that I am going to take King's Landing, and when I'm done, Rhaenyra is welcome to take her place by my side. It was like, okay, that's what are they doing with Daemon's character now? Because yeah, I have to admit, I'm not the biggest fan with what they've done with Daemon's character in season 2. I can fully admit that.
Seems like a bit of a mess. Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, especially with his reputation as it is, and then you've got where he demands that I'm not sure who it was, but that he be called king instead of your grace. And
the
guy, and then this fat guy is willing to balk at him.
And that's the thing. Like season 1 Daemon, people wouldn't even attempt to season 1 Daemon like that. You speak to season 1 Daemon like that, or like you speak about season 1 Daemon's family like that, as this comment says, book Daemon is a Giga Chad, family loving, traditional Targaryen stan. And yeah, I mean, for all the flaws that Daemon has, he cares about his family. He does have a kind of twisted sense of a moral compass at times, but he cares about his family. He'll do anything to defend Rhaenyra's claim. At least at this point in the story, that's kind of where he is in the book. So yeah, to hear him just kind of come right out and say that, it was a little bit shocking. It was a little surprising for them to go that far with Daemon's character on the show. But I'm interested to see where it goes, if nothing else. It should be, interesting to see how it all kind of plays out. But yeah, in the book, Daemon, it doesn't seem like he ever had any kind of desire to be king. Even when he was named King of the Stepstones, just like on the show, it was kind of similar on the show as well. After he smashes the crab feeder down in the Stepstones, they name him King of the Narrow Sea. And the first thing he does is fly back to King's Landing, lay his crown at his brother's feet, and they reconcile. And that's pretty much how it goes down in the book as well. So yeah, Daemon strikes me as someone who wants respect. He wants he wants admiration, but he just never really struck me as someone who wanted to be king, I guess. But that's just my interpretation. I know everybody has different interpretations for characters, which is totally cool. And we welcome that. We definitely welcome that. Let's see what else we got. Oh, we got a $1.99 super chat from ACACC. Thank you so much for the $1.99. Lady Jade Aaron be coming off two-faced. Artery. Let's talk a little bit about Lady Jane Aaron for a bit. I suppose we can do that. Where's my Lady Jane Aaron picks? I know I got a really good one. And it's cool to see Amanda Collins back on screen, especially in the same show as Abubakar Salim, who was playing Alan of Hull, who were famously the mother and father on Raised by Wolves.
Cool.
Yeah, it's nice to see them together on the same show again. I was really bummed when Raised by Wolves got canceled. I thought that got canceled way too prematurely. But it's nice to see them both on screen in here in House of the Dragon. And yes, we got our first look at the Vale in episode 5. And we're seeing that Lady Jane Aaron of the Vale is not too pleased with the dragons that Rhaenyra has sent her. Of course, early on, at the end of season 1, we see Rhaenyra send Jace off to treat with multiple different castles, one of them being Lady Jane Arryn in the Vale, to try and secure their patronage for the war, their fealty, which Jace successfully does in exchange for Rhaenyra sending a dragon to the Vale to help keep the Vale safe if there are any retaliations from the Greens. And when the dragons actually arrive, at least on the show, she's not too pleased to see that they have that Rhaenyra has sent pretty much hatchlings, baby hatchlings that are not really capable of fighting yet. So yeah, she was a little bit upset with that. A little bit upset with that. But yeah, it's nice to see Lady Jane Arryn. It's nice to see the Vale. I feel like they the Vale looks really, really good in season 2. Where's the shot? Here it is. We got this beautiful, beautiful shot of the Vale, and I love these kind of overhead landscaping shots that they do in House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones. My only query would be, at least for non-book readers, to maybe help them get a understanding as to where things are in the world. It would be nice if we saw a little something like, the Vale in print every time we were going to a new location. They did that early on they did that early on in the first few seasons of Game of Thrones. Of like when we were in Winterfell, it would say Winterfell. When we were in King's Landing, it would say King's Landing. Just in case for all of the non-book readers to get a sense of where these main locations were and what some of the main where some of the main stories are going to be taking place. But I love the shot of the Vale. I mean, you got the mountains of the Vale in the background. You got the beautiful, beautiful Eyrie right here. Yeah, I know I saw a lot of people saw a lot of comments saying that they really wish we could have got a shot of the moon door, which would have been pretty cool. The famous moon door that Tyrion almost goes out of in season 1. But yes, we see, Lady Jane Arryn she was not too happy, was she, ACC, with the dragons that was sent to her from Rhaenyra. So yeah, I guess we're gonna have to see where that goes. It does look like from the trailer for episode 6, we're going to get some Vale and Eyrie shots. It looks like we have some shots of Rhaena in the Vale for this episode. And I know a lot of us have been hearing the rumors or the leaks that have been going around for a while in terms of the Nettles Rhaena leaks that have been going on about Nettles potentially not being in the show and how Rhaena might potentially claim Sheep Stealer instead. So again, I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens over these next 3 episodes. I guess we will. I can't
imagine they'll make that big of a change. That's a pretty serious change.
Yeah, I don't know at this point. I do not know at this point. It's 50-50. 50-50 at this point. And just because they don't introduce Nettles in season 2, that doesn't completely negate the possibility of her maybe appearing in season 3. But if we see Rhaena claim Sheep Stealer in season 2, then that is probably going to lend a little bit more credence to Nettles not being in the show. But who knows? Again, who knows what the show is planning compared to the book? We have the blueprint that is the book, but the show is a totally different canon. They definitely have kind of done their own thing on the show at times, sometimes for good, sometimes for bad. So either way, I'm looking forward to seeing what they have planned, if nothing else. I hope Nettles is in the show, personally. I think Nettles is one of the more interesting characters during the dance. But if she isn't in the show, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Rhaena's character. So I'm going to give it a chance either way to see what's happening. But I hope Nettles is in there. I think that would be a change, a big change.
I think she will be.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think so. But let's see what else we got. Let's dive into some of this stuff. And actually, let's dive into. We do have the preview for episode 6 that I wanted to touch on a little bit. Actually, before we touch on that a little bit, I just wanted to point out. I know I talked a little bit about this on Monday, but in terms of episode 5, I did really appreciate some of the nice little book reference Easter eggs that they threw into this episode, like this shot, of course, of the dragon's head, of the head of Meleys, being paraded around on a cart around King's Landing, which is a very kind of famous scene from Fire and Blood in the book as well. That after the Battle of Rooks Rest, the Greens famously parade not only the head of Meleys, but actually the head of Lord Staunton as well in the book, and they parade the heads around King's Landing, which only creates even more unrest and uneasiness amongst the small folk of King's Landing, because now they're worried that Rhaenyra is going to retaliate. So the situation inside King's Landing is definitely getting far more dire. We see the food shortage is getting crazier and crazier. And it looks like the people of King's Landing are ready to boil over. So it's been cool to
Well,
see the little. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, well, the theme that I've seen, at least in this episode, is that their actions are undermining their authority to the small folk. And this was a good example, just starting out with, they almost look at the dragons as gods, and yet they're undermining that perception with the small folk by showing this, that dragons can be killed. So if the dragons can be killed, then the Targaryens don't have as much power as they think they do.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Because we even hear that one small folk say, I thought the dragons was gods. When they see the head of the dragon, and yes, I mean, the dragons are the source of the power of House Targaryen. And to see a dragon get slaughtered like this, it definitely is a blow to the overall perception of the power that House Targaryen has. If the small folk all of a sudden start thinking, okay, these things aren't these indestructible, killing machines. They're mortal after all. Then yeah, that's a little bit of a blow to the kind of the look and the reputation that House Targaryen has crafted over these decades and centuries.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, seeing a dead dragon is definitely a little bit of a blow to their power. So that is a good point, Snug. That is a good point, my friend. Another really nice book Easter egg that I enjoyed in episode 5 was we saw this. And now this is a very famous, another famous scene from Fire and Blood. After the Battle of Rooks Rest, Aegon gets so severely burnt that portions of his armor actually get fused and melted into his skin. And I love that they went that far for this in House of the Dragon. I was wondering, are they going to go that far and see, like, how mangled is Aegon going to be? And I got to say, he's pretty mangled. He's got burns over a good percentage of his body, just like the book. And we are seeing the armor literally melted into his skin, just like in the book. And in this scene in particular, it's gnarly. Grand Maester Orwell has to literally grab some kind of knife and pry the melted freaking armor from his skin. I can only imagine how much something like this must hurt. Man, but that was a really cool book Easter egg. I remember reading that scene in Fire and Blood and thinking, oh man, that is gnarly. That just reading about the armor being fused into his flesh. So it was cool to see that book Easter egg kind of thrown into the show. I appreciated that. It was really cool to see. Really, really cool to see. Let's see what else we got. We got a super chat, from Luna Cascade. Awesome. Let's see what we got here. Let me pull this up. Where is it? There it is.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. All right. Here we go.
You got it. Okay.
$5 from Luna Cascade. Thank you so much, Luna, for the $5. Maybe the remark vision Lena made to Daemon, "Are you tending to our daughters?" is a foreshadow to replacing Nettles. Ooh, interesting, Luna. Interesting. Yes, and that has been some of the visions that Daemon has been having at Harrenhal, wasn't it? We get that vision where he is seeing his deceased wife, his former dead wife, Lena, who of course is the mother of his 2 daughters, Baela and Rhaena. So yeah, that's very. I didn't really think about that, but now that you mention it, interesting. Very interesting indeed. Very interesting indeed. Is that a foreshadow of replacing Nettles? It could be. I mean, again, there have been some signs that point to there maybe not being any Nettles on the show. They have already introduced all of the dragon seeds, seemingly. We've seen Hugh the Hammer. We've seen Ulf the White. We've seen Adam and Alan of Hull. And they even confirmed that they cast someone to play Silver Danes. But that yet still nothing from Nettles yet. So it is a kind of head scratcher. But no, that's interesting. Yeah, maybe that little remark vision of Lena saying to Daemon, "Are you tending to our daughters?" Maybe that is foreshadowing replacing Nettles. Interesting. I like that. Luna. Awesome stuff. And thank you so much for the $5, my friend. I like that though. Yeah, I mean, because it is kind of true. Daemon isn't really looking after his daughters like he should. I mean, when Lena says that, I think Daemon probably has a moment of reflection and probably realizing, like, oh shit, it's been a little while since I've seen Bela and Rhaena. And hell, the last time that he saw Bela, they were walking past each other in the hall, and Bela goes, "Father," and he just walks right by her, doesn't even friggin' acknowledge her, and he takes off to Harrenhal. That might have been the last time he even seen Bela. So yeah, that's a good point.
Is Lena the one that he met? And when they were both on horseback, and then she like had some accident and died. Is that who that is, or that's?
No, that was his first wife, the Lady of the Vale. Lena was the other wife that he had, the sister of Laenor, the first rider of Vagar in season 1.
Okay.
And the one that he's seeing visions of in this episode. Yeah, I like that. I like that, Luna. I like that a lot. We got a $4.99 from ACACC. Thank you, ACACC. What was both of y'all's favorite episode or scene since House of the Dragon began? Since House of the Dragon begun. Mine is season 2, episode 4, Maylee's R.I.P. And love all of the beautiful shots of the keeps. Awesome, ACC. And great question indeed. And I will actually throw this question down to everybody in the chat as well. Let us know in the chat, what was your favorite scene overall in House of the Dragon, whether it's season 1, season 2, let us know what your favorite scene is overall. For me, it's a toss-up tie in terms of season 1, episode 8, Lord of the Tides, the final stand of King Viserys. Seeing that powerful entrance into the Iron Throne room where he goes and fights for his daughter and Lucerys' claim. The really touching moment that he has with Daemon when his crown falls off of his head. Daemon comes up behind him, picks it up, helps his brother to the Iron Throne, places the crown upon his head. That was just one of the best scenes I've ever seen of House of the Dragon, and I would put it up there in terms of some of my favorite scenes in Game of Thrones history as well. But between that scene and the final scene of Viserys when he is having the final dinner with his family in that same episode, when Viserys stands up at the dinner table and makes his final last-ditch attempt to bring his fractured family back together. The speech that he gives in that scene was freaking phenomenal. It tugs, it hits you. It hit me right in the gut when I was watching that scene. Because I have a very close relationship with my siblings. I'm very close with my sisters. I can only imagine, what would happen if we had that level of falling out, how disappointed our parents would be, because we grew up a very close-knit family and still are to this day. So it definitely resonated with me, that scene, how kind of disappointed and how heartbroken my parents would be if me and my sisters ever kind of fell out the way that Rhaenyra has fallen out with kind of Aegon and Alicent and all of that. So yeah, that scene was, those two scenes are probably my two favorite in House of the Dragon overall. Viserys triumphantly entering the throne room, and then the just brilliant speech he gives at the dinner table in that same episode. Those are probably my two favorite scenes overall. What about you, Snug? Do you have a favorite scene?
Yeah, the first seasons with Viserys, there's a lot of good scenes there, and I agree with you on what you said. But then for this season, the episode 4 has been the strongest of at least of this season, in my opinion. Most entertaining. Yeah.
It was. I mean, I would have to put that scene right up there with a close second. That and another scene very early on in season 2. I would probably put up as a close second that I'll play here in a minute. But first, I would love to see what the chat is saying as well. What were some of your favorite scenes from the series so far? Let's see what else we got. New location so far in season 2: the Twins, Winterfell, Castle Black, Eyrie, Stonehenge. More to come. Yeah, maybe there might be more to come. Who knows? Who knows? Episode 4, season 2, and the final episode of season 1. Awesome. Caraxes blowing a pirate off his boots is unmatchable. I would put a Caraxes scene up there among some of my favorites as well. And in season 1, when Daemon is down in the Stepstones, I believe it's episode 3, we see that one scene of one of Daemon's men being, they're tied to one of the crab feeders' posts, and they see Daemon and Caraxes kind of enter the battlefield, and he's like, "Yes, save me, my prince, save me!" And the dragon just fucking lands right on him and squashes the guy. That was one of the funniest scenes I've seen. I really like that scene. That was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good one. That's my favorite. OMG. Yes. Awesome stuff. Aegon and Sunfire chest bump and them wooing all the way to Rook's Rest. That was a really good scene as well. The scene of Sunfire kind of just bumping Aegon's chest like that. I really did enjoy that one. And a lot of people were bringing up that maybe Sunfire might have been one of the only characters that truly kind of unequivocally loved Aegon, that his bond with Sunfire is probably the closest bond he had in his entire life. I mean, it seems like him and Alicent didn't have the best relationship. We know him and Aemon didn't have the best relationship, but he had his dragon Sunfire. So it seemed like Sunfire and him had a pretty interesting bond there. So yeah, that's a good scene as well. That's a very good scene as well. That was the best episode. Rook's Rest is overrated, in my opinion, says Channel. Okay, that's cool. That is cool. That is, hey, all opinions are welcome here, my friend. Yeah, all opinions are welcome here. I enjoyed Rook's Rest myself. I definitely thought it was the strongest episode so far in season 2. But no, that's totally cool. That is totally cool. And then he chops off Vaemon's head. Good times. That is another great scene, Vanessa Lore. Yes. And that's the Rogue Prince that we kind of fell in love with in season 1. The Rogue Prince that rushes into the Stepstones by himself, no dragon, no army, just Dark Sister, and just starts tearing the Crab Feeder's men apart. And yeah, he's just that's the Rogue Prince right there. That is the Rogue.
Yep.
Favorite scene, favorite season 1, last episode. OMG, Paddy acted his ass off. I cried. He did, didn't he?
Yeah,
Like
hell yeah.
He was a phenomenal actor, and that's why I really miss his presence in season 2. And then that was one thing I said very early on. Like it sucks to see Paddy go, because I'm really going to miss his presence in the rest of the series, because he was such a good actor. He was so good in that role. Yeah, it's a very powerful scenes. Probably the most powerful scenes in House of the Dragon period came from Viserys, I would say. Absolutely.
It fits so much, and it fits so much, and I think that we talked about maybe last week that his presence is missed, because none of the potential successors can really fill his shoes. They just don't have the leadership or the charisma, and I don't know if they intentionally did that with the casting, but it comes through. It really comes through in the story. So if they didn't intend it, it was a really good job. Yeah.
Yeah, it really does. And I can totally understand why even George came out and said that he was so impressed with Paddy Considine as Viserys that he wished he could have gone back and rewritten Fire and Blood with Paddy Considine's Viserys in mind. That's how much even George loved the interpretation of the series. So every once in a while, it doesn't happen too often, but at least for me anyway, every once in a while you'll see some of these show characters that even surpass the book characters in some ways. And Paddy Considine's Viserys was very much that, I thought. Good stuff. Good stuff. If Paddy and Rhys weren't in the episode, it can't be the best. And I will agree with you a little bit there as Channel. I have been missing Rhys Ifans. Ever since he kind of went back to Old Town and we haven't seen him in these last few episodes, I do feel like the show is missing something without him. He adds a certain kind of caliber to the show in terms of veteran acting, just having a really good screen presence and commanding performance. Yeah, I mean, as much as I'm not a fan of Otto the character, I'm a huge fan of Rhys Ifans in the role of Otto, because he's such a good actor and he's really good in that role. So yeah, I have noticed his absence in these last few episodes. I can't believe I'd ever say this, but yeah, I miss seeing Otto. I freaking miss seeing Otto. I never thought I'd say that. Never thought I would say that. I cried like a baby at the conclusion of a series last episode, thinking of his beloved at the end, wanting only to see her again with all his heart. Yeah, that was a really good scene as well, Land of Always Winter. The final scene we get of the series when he's on his deathbed, and he's just, you can see him kind of reaching up, and he's reaching up to Emma. Like, he's reaching up to Emma. For all of the relationship that he had with Alicent, whether he loved Alicent or not remains to be seen. I'm sure a part of him probably did, but Emma was his true love. Like, Emma was his world. When Emma died, he was, it really rocked him. And I do feel that Viserys probably regrets some of the decisions he made in Emma's final hours, because Viserys was presented with a near impossible decision when Emma was on the birthing bed, when the maester says, okay, we can attempt to save the baby, but it's most likely going to kill your wife. I can't even imagine having to make a choice like that. That is just, it's unimaginable to have to choose between your wife and your kid potentially. I can only imagine what that must be like. And I have to imagine Viserys might even probably regret some of the decisions that he's made in that regard, considering how it all kind of played out and how much he really did love Emma. Just a heartbreaking scene. Heartbreaking scene, indeed. And great actor. Just such a good freaking actor.
Absolutely, yeah.
The dude's good, man. The dude is good.
Yep.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Damon and Carax's side-by-side profile shot was dope. Hell yes. Hell yes. Let's see what else we got. And guys, look at Hugh Hammer's daughter when he is holding her at the gates. She is blue. Did we just watch her die? I did see a few people mentioning that as well, and I gotta say, I'm not quite sure. I need to go back and get a better shot, because this was the only shot I took a few days of it, so I'll have to go back and watch the episode and see a little bit better. But yeah, we do see the mother looking at her with a lot of concern, and she wasn't moving around a lot, so you might be right. You guys might be right. A lot of, some people have been pointing that out, that maybe she could have died right here in this moment. And that would be just tragically heartbreaking. And that's one thing I've really been enjoying about Hugh Hammer's character. They've been giving him some proper backstory and some proper character development. Whereas in the book, we don't really learn a whole lot about him outside of him being the son of a blacksmith and a blacksmith himself, and being a huge burly man who could reportedly bend steel bars with his hand. But other than that, we don't really learn a whole lot about, his character. They don't really peel back the layers of the dragon seeds in the book too much. So I really like that they're giving Hugh a proper backstory on the show. They're giving him a family. They're presenting him as a very sympathetic character, small folk. He's a very good POV look at what these small folk go through on a day-to-day basis, especially now during times of war. We see, when the High Lords play their games of war, it's the small folk at the end of the day that always suffer. And I feel like Hugh's character is the perfect example of that. And they've been portraying that very well. Very, very well. So yeah, I'll have to go back and watch that episode again and see if she is blue. But a lot of some people have been pointing that out. It's a very interesting, it could be. I mean, that'd be heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking if she dies right as he gets to the gates and they shut them on him. That would be heartbreaking indeed. Heartbreaking indeed. Let's see what else we got. ACC says, if you could change one thing so far, what would you? Oof. Now, this is probably just going to be my bias, and I totally am okay with admitting that. I mean, we're all human. We're all prone to a certain degree of bias at the end of the day. I'm totally fine with admitting that. But for me, if I could change anything, it would be a little bit of a longer, proper introduction of Cregan Stark. I think a lot of us were really, really looking forward to seeing House Stark back on the big screen, seeing Cregan Stark and Jace's famous meetup, and seeing how that all plays out, how they become friends, how they eventually hammer out the deal known as the Pact of Ice and Fire. Is Sarah Snow going to be a real thing? There was a lot of anticipation when it came to Cregan Stark and his appearance in season 2. And I feel like they just kind of glossed over it a little too quick. I get that they can't spend a whole lot of time with the Starks. This is a Targaryen story at the end of the day. But Jace's relationship with Cregan, they set that up in the book for a very specific reason. It's not there just for a nostalgia bait for Stark fans. It's there for a very specific reason. Jace and Cregan become very close friends to the point where they look at each other like brothers. They spend a great deal of time hunting, training together. And later on, after the Battle of the Gullet happens in particular, and what happens in the Battle of the Gullet, that is what kind of spurs Cregan and what motivates Cregan to personally start getting involved in the war, because he sees what happens in the Battle of the Gullet and he's kind of pissed at it. So yeah, I mean, as much as I totally understand they can't spend a whole lot of time up north with the Starks, I thought we could have gotten at least a little bit more. On the show, they really only established Cregan and Jace as being acquaintances. You really didn't get that brotherly friendship vibe from them. So if I could change anything, that is probably what I would change. I would have the Cregan Stark and Jace story arc probably last throughout that entire first episode, with them kind of going back and forth from scenes between Jason Cregan at the Wall and maybe even Jason Cregan at Winterfell. Seeing how Vermax reacts to being up north and near the Wall and in the cold. We know how very strangely dragons have acted in the cold and at the Wall in the past. I love the little history lesson that Cregan gives him in terms of telling him about Queen Alysanne and how her dragon didn't cross the Wall. That was really cool that they threw that in there. I like what we got in terms of the Cregan Stark scene. I just wish we could have gotten a little bit more. So if I could have changed anything, it would probably be that. Just a little bit more Cregan and Jace. But again, that could just be my bias because I am a huge, huge House Stark fan. And thank you for that super chat as well, because that also gives me the perfect excuse to play this.
Duty is sacrifice. It eclipses all things, even blood. All men of honour must pay its price. North owes a great duty to the Seven Kingdoms, one older than any oath. Since the days of the first men, we have stood as guardians against the cold and the dark. But my ancestor, Torrin Stark, began a tradition by making an offering at the onset of winter. 1 in 10 men from our household was to be chosen to fortify the watch. This is not a sentence, but an honour. A duty embraced by all who serve the North. Even by mine own kin. The North must stand ready. Winter is coming.
Winter is coming. And yes, channel, you got me pegged. You have me pegged. I will admit it. You just love any excuse to play that Stark theme, and we're not mad. I'll admit it. Yes, that is it.
It's a good one, yeah.
That is it. Any excuse to play the Stark theme, I will jump on it. I love that music. It brings back so many fond memories of those early days of Game of Thrones. The first 3 seasons of Game of Thrones will always be so near and dear to me. So yeah, I just love that music. It just brings back so many good memories, and it's a really great soundtrack. I gotta hand it to Ramin Djawadi, the composer for Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon. The guy is just a genius composer. He's put out some of the best scores I've ever seen in any show or movie, period, ever. So yeah, any excuse to play the Stark theme. Any excuse. Yeah. But what about you, Snug? If you could change any one thing, what would you change?
Oh, I'm not sure. I think that I was thinking as you were talking, I wouldn't mind a little bit more character development, but that would kind of slow things down, and it's already kind of slow maybe, but maybe that's what I would go for, is maybe swapping out some of the stuff that doesn't really seem to matter to the storyline to flesh out some of the characters. That's probably what I would go with.
Okay. Awesome. I like it. Awesome stuff. Thank you so much for the super chat, and thank you so much, Luna, for the $2 super chat. Conversely, episode was your least favorite, and why? Ooh. Now, in terms of the entire show as a whole, or just season 2, that's tough, because I got to say that this previous episode that just passed, episode 5, it was probably my least favorite of season 2 so far. And for me, I think it's just because I'm not a big fan of where they're taking Daemon's character, specifically. Him kind of coming full out and admitting that he's trying to claim the throne for himself. The whole DMT Harrenhal thing lasting maybe a little bit longer than it should. It does, just for me personally, it feels like it's starting to drag out a little bit. So I think for me, episode 5 was probably my least favorite overall. Although when I look back, I try to look back in season 1. Are there any episodes in season 1 that I really, really disliked? Not really. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of episode 2 in season 1, and not really a lot happened in that second episode of season 1. It all kind of leads to that little standoff between Daemon and Rhaenyra on the bridge of Dragonstone when Daemon steals the egg. Kind of an uneventful, kind of slow episode, but had some good moments nonetheless, some good acting. And of course, episode 2, that's when we get the famous Crispin line from Daemon when he dubs Sir Crispin Sir Crispin. So yeah, I'd have to say either season 1, episode 2, or this season 2, episode 5. Those are probably my 2 least favorites, just in terms of just the pacing in episode 5 wasn't really the best. I think the Harrenhal thing's lasting a little too long, and I'm just not the biggest fan with what they're doing with Daemon's character. Is just my personal opinion, but I'm still enjoying the show. Still very much looking forward to seeing where it's going. But what about you, Snug? Do you have a least favorite episode?
It might have been episode 2 from this season. This last episode I didn't think was, or maybe it was 3. One of the ones that was, was episode 3. I didn't mind this last episode. I thought it had,
cool.
because to me the thing that I find interesting with the story is the reaction of the small folk and
yes,
and the effect on them. And this seems to be that there's at least some of them willing to kind of stand up to the Targaryens as far as the way that they're really abusing their authority and not willing to compensate them. I mean, you have the issue of Daemon not having the gold to pay them, but they can't survive on nothing. They need something in order to live on. So I kind of like that development of that of what I see as kind of a thread in the story.
Yeah, and it has been kind of interesting to see the reaction of the small folk. And again, I mean, it's so true that the saying that's been in the fandom and in the books for a long time: when the High Lords play their Game of Thrones, the small folk suffer. And I feel like if nothing else, House of the Dragon has been portraying that aspect pretty well for the most part. Like, especially, I really like what they've done with, again, Hugh the Hammer. And, kind of, throwing him as a King's Landing blacksmith, having him grow up in the slums of King's Landing. It's good to see that kind of POV of the small folk, to see how this war is impacting the citizens of the realm, the working force, the people who keep the freaking realm going, the blacksmiths, the fishermen, all of these small folk. These are the working class that keep the realm going. So you got to look out for your small folk.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, good stuff. ACC has a $1.99 super chat. This is a special shout out to this channel's fans. Wow, thank you so much, my friend. And yes, I have to give a big shout out. I don't like to say fans. I think we're all just fans of House of the Dragon. And I that's kind of how I look at it. I don't look at this as a fan thing, because I'm just a fan like everybody else. I'm nobody. But yes, I can't thank each and every one of you, everyone who shows up every week to kind of hang out with us, talk about House of the Dragon, some of the things we love, some of the things we don't like, what we thought could have been done a little bit better, what we're looking forward to. You guys have been just giving us so much good feedback. I really can't thank each and every one of you enough. And the support has been overwhelming. I never in a million years thought I would have, support like this. And it really does mean the world to me. I appreciate every single one of you that shows up for these streams and watches the videos. You guys really are so awesome. And I genuinely look forward to these conversations that we have about the show. It's always interesting to see, where we differ on things, where we're similar on things, what we're looking forward to, everything. It's been really fun. And again, I can't thank each and every one of you enough. You guys have been so freaking awesome. So thank you for that, ACC. And big thank you to everybody who supports us and shows up. You guys really are the best. Absolutely the best.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I want to be wrong, but I've decided to stop hoping for Nettles. I think it's far more likely that Rhaena is our 4th rider. And it is looking a little bit like that. I mean, they have kind of introduced all the dragon seeds except for her. So at this point, I'm kind of like it's 50-50. But that is a good mindset to have to, I want to be wrong, but maybe let's prepare for there not being Nettles. That way we're not kind of heartbroken when she doesn't show up. That's a good mindset to have, Land of Always Winter. I can't hate on that. Mother of Dragons brings up a very good point. I actually made a tweet about this not too long ago. I would like to see more humorous characters like Bronn, Tyrion, the Hound, or some funny one-liners. And I do feel like that's kind of the one aspect that's missing from House of the Dragon that made Game of Thrones really good. Like you said, we had these characters like the Tyrions, the Hounds, Bronns, that had just these witty freaking one-liners all the time that became so famous. And that's why I really feel like if Mushroom were on the show, he could probably be that character to provide that comedic levity every once in a while. So I agree with you, Mother of Dragons. I would love to see one of those characters that's kind of in that kind of role. That's always just, you know, a little bit of a humorous character, some comedic levity every once in a while. The show has some moments of comedic levity, which are funny, don't get me wrong, but we don't really have that one character that is that kind of comedic levity character. And I feel like Mushroom could have kind of filled that role. So yeah, I agree with you. It's yeah, we need some more snappy one-liners. We need some more snappy one-liners, guys. I'm with you. I am with you. Rip the Dodo Bird says, hated this episode for the exact same reason because Damon also hated the episode where Rhaenyra goes on the Scooby-Doo dummy mission to King's Landing. That scene ruined it for me. I was baffled. Yeah, that scene came under a lot of criticism. I remember when that episode aired, a lot of people did not like that scene. I kind of enjoyed it myself personally just because of the after effect, the consequences of that scene, of Alicent, you know, actually, you know, the seed of doubt being planted into Alicent's head in terms of her finally realizing, like, holy shit, maybe I did misinterpret Viserys' final words. So on that aspect, I kind of did enjoy that scene, but I understand a lot of people didn't weren't too happy with that scene, and that's totally cool. That is totally cool. Let's see what we got. Was episode 3 the Patel episode? Yeah, that one's not great. I think.
I'm not sure.
Was it 3 or was it 5? I'm trying to. I think it might have been 3. Yeah, I'm trying to think now. Alan Taylor directed 1. Claire Kilner directed 2. I don't know why I'm brain farting on this right now. I usually have this stuff down. But yeah, I mean, and Geeta Patel, she was the one who actually directed one of my favorite episodes, actually, in season 1, episode 8, the Driftmark episode, the episode that had Viserys' final stand. That was actually Geeta's episode that she directed, Geeta Patel. And yeah, her season 2 episode didn't quite live up to her season 1 episode, I would agree. But no, that's awesome. That's cool. Totally cool. All opinions are welcome here, guys. All opinions are welcome here. Yeah.
Wikipedia says 8 was directed by her.
Yeah, season 1, episode 8. That was the episode with Viserys' last stand. That was she directed that episode beautifully. By the way, that was my favorite episode so far.
And season 2, episode 3. Maybe that's what they mean.
3. Okay, I think it was 3. Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds about right. But it's such a dumb change. Rhaena ain't even built like that. Now it's forever. And that's another point that a lot of fans have been pointing out, that Nettles and Rhaena they're just two totally different characters in terms of temperament, what they're kind of made of. Rhaena is very timid and kind of shy and withdrawn, where Nettles is very bold and you know, she goes for it. She's not afraid. She doesn't have much fear. So yeah, they are two totally different characters. I will agree with you there, MXD. I have seen some people pointing that out, and that's totally cool. Totally cool. We got a $5 super chat. Thank you so much for the 5. Funniest one-liner. What is it, sir? What is it, Sir Simon? Is the pudding ready to be served? Damon is savage. That was good. I must say that was a good scene. Yeah, that's at the end of episode 5, when Damon is sleeping in his bed, and Sir Simon comes and wakes him up. And yeah, that's the first thing Damon says. What is it, Sir Simon? Is the pudding ready to be served? Just so pissed that someone's dragging him out of his bed during the Hour of the Wolf, which was a very nice kind of little foreshadowing of the Hour of the Wolf that we'll probably be getting in the final season when Cregan Stark does return to the fold. So yeah, that was a pretty funny one-liner. I agree with you. I do agree with you. That was a good one. And thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Yeah, that was a good scene. That is a good scene. Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, Scooby-Doo mission. Actual LOLs here. That's good. That is good. Radical Z asks, would Nettles being gone ruin the series for you? For me, as long as we get to the same conclusion, I'm fine with it. I don't think it would ruin the series for me, no. I'll definitely be disappointed if Nettles isn't in there, and I'll fully admit that I think it's a huge mistake if she's not in the show. But I don't know necessarily if it'll ruin it for me. I would have to see where things play out and how the season kind of finishes as a whole to really kind of see if that absence really ruins the entire show for me. But no, I don't think it would ruin the entire show. Just for me personally, I would be very disappointed. I very much was looking forward to seeing Nettles. But I don't think it would necessarily just ruin the entire show for me. I would have to see how things play out to fully answer that accurately. But I don't think it would completely ruin the show. But it would be incredibly disappointing because she is a pretty important part of the show. Yeah. What about you guys in the chat? Yeah. And what do you guys think in the chat? If Nettles isn't in the show, if these rumors turn out to be true and we don't get Nettles even in season 3 or 4 or anything, if Nettles isn't in the show, what do you guys think? Would that ruin the show for you? Or would it just be one of those things that really sucks, but you'll still enjoy the show? Again, for me, I'll have to see how everything plays out to really answer that accurately, but hopefully it wouldn't just outright ruin the show. But that's a great question, Radical Z. That's a great question. Great question indeed. And yeah, Hugh Hammer looks well-fed for a starving peasant, though. He does, doesn't he? He does, doesn't he? Great stuff. Great stuff. All right, now let's dive into this. I want to play the episode 6 teaser trailer, and we'll take a little bit of a look at what we have to look forward to next week. Let me pull this up real quick. Let me get down to my episode 6 stills, because they did release some very interesting episode 6 stills that we are going to take a look at here in 1 minute. So yeah, let me pull this up here. Let's take a look at the season 2 episode 6 teaser trailer, and it looks like the dragon seeds are on the way.
It's never been attempted before.
To claim a dragon, you must also be prepared to die.
If Daemon prevails in the Riverlands, I no longer have the numbers to challenge him.
My uncle is a challenge I welcome, if he dares face me.
You have the arrogance of youth, dignities of your childhood not yet sufficiently been avenged.
You will still never match the strength of the Green Armies. We need Daemon.
It is my fault that you have forgotten to fear me.
Woof. There it is. Season 2, episode 6, less than 24 hours away. And it looks like the dragon seeds are a-coming. The dragon seeds are a-coming. And, for me, what sticks out instantly was this absolutely phenomenal shot that we get at the end right here of what looks to be sea smoke. And this is one of the highly anticipated things. I think a lot of us, especially book readers, were really looking forward to seeing how this story would play out in terms of Adam of Hull claiming Laenor's dragon, with Laenor seemingly maybe still alive somewhere. I know we did get that throwaway line in episode 2 when Rhaenyra says that sea smoke has become restless as of late, and we can't know why. A lot of fans took that as an interpretation that Laenor did die somewhere across the Narrow Sea. And that very well could be the case. I'll only say if that is the only confirmation we get of Laenor's death, that is, I just don't like that personally. I feel like we deserve a little bit more concrete confirmation, as opposed to just one throwaway line about the dragon acting strangely. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. If that is the only kind of reference we get to it, or if we'll get some more definitive proof of Laenor's actual death. I'm not sure which way they're going to go with it. But I cannot wait to see some of these new dragons. We did hear from Ryan Condal when season 2 was getting going that we were going to get 5 new dragons in season 2. And so far, the only dragon we've seen in season 2 that we haven't seen in season 1 has been Moondancer. I mean, it's hard to tell if they're counting Sunfire as a new dragon or not. We did see Sunfire in season 1, but we only got a really, really quick glimpse, very, very far away, of Sunfire. So I guess that's where the question comes in. What are they counting as new dragons and old? There have been some leaks that were going out that stated that the 5 new dragons that we are going to get in season 2 were Silverwing, Tyraxes, Stormcloud, Sheep Stealer, and Moondancer. That was the rumor when season 2 was filming. And so far we have seen Moondancer, but I guess we'll have to wait and see what these other 4 are going to be. But we got 3 episodes left and presumably 4 other new dragons still to be introduced. I cannot wait to see what's going to be going on. It looks like we are probably definitely going to get Silverwing. Looks like we're probably going to get Sheep Stealer. Whether it's Nettles claiming her arena remains to be seen. But I cannot wait to see this Dragon Seed storyline. This has been one of the most anticipated storylines coming into season 2, I think, especially for a lot of book fans. The Dragon Seeds, or the sowing of the seeds, is a huge event from the books that is incredibly bloody and incredibly fun to read as well. It's a really fun part of the Dance of the Dragons, the Dragon Seed storyline. So I cannot wait to see this thing play out on screen, and I really look forward to seeing what they have in store for us. How exactly will this Dragon Seed storyline play out? How will Hugh Hammer make his way all the way up to Dragonstone from King's Landing now that the gates are closed? How will Ulf the White make his way to Dragonstone? That's some of the things I'm looking forward to seeing, and how exactly are they going to end up claiming these dragons? How will Adam of Hull come in contact with Sea Smoke? I cannot wait to see how this Dragon Seed storyline plays out. It is going to be awesome. Absolutely awesome. And yes, Cannibal and Grey Ghost. Hell, I would love to see some more wild dragons, some nice Cannibal and Grey Ghost. I would love to see those dragons. In terms of most anticipated dragons overall that I'm really looking forward to seeing, for me, it's definitely, Caraxes has always been one of my favorites. We saw him very early on. But in terms of dragons we haven't seen so far, I really, really want to see Tessarion. Blue's my favorite color. I just love the way Tessarion is described in the books with the blue and the bronze copper horns. Very awesome looking dragon. And Cannibal. Cannibal is one of the dragons that I want to see on the show the most. Cannibal is so freaking savage. I mean, it's just such a savage dragon, a wild dragon that has never been claimed, that has garnered such a ferocious reputation that by the time the Dance of the Dragons comes around, nobody even attempts to claim Cannibal because everybody's so freaking afraid of him. It's referred to in the book that his lair is littered with the bones of would-be dragon riders that tried to claim Cannibal at one point. And of course, he is famously named the Cannibal by the small folk of Dragonstone, because Cannibal was very much known for eating smaller dragons and eating dragon eggs. So he literally is a cannibal. So yeah, I really, really, really hope we get a glimpse of some wild dragons. If not in season 2, hopefully in season 3. Again, it's hard to tell if those dragon leaks were accurate or not. So I guess we'll have to wait and see over these last 3 episodes what these other new dragons are going to be, and that'll tell us if the leaks were true. But yes, at some point, even if it's not in season 2, I really hope we get Cannibal on screen in season 3, because I know at least Kayla and I, we talked about it many times when we saw that Silver Danes was cast on the show. And Silver Danes is one of the most minor characters from the books. He barely has one line. Silver Danes is a dragon seed, and he is a dragon seed that meets with a very tragic fate during the Dragon Seed storyline. I won't spoil exactly what it is, but it is tied to Sheep Stealer, and it is also tied to the dragon Cannibal as well. And when we saw that they cast Silver Danes specifically, I thought, holy crap, does this mean we're going to get freaking Cannibal on the show? So I can't wait to see if we will get some Cannibal, if not this season, hopefully in season 3, because he really is one of the coolest dragons. There really is no other dragons quite like Cannibal in the story. He's kind of, a singularity into in and of himself, especially when you think about all of the rumors surrounding Cannibal. There's that one rumor that the small folk of Dragonstone state that Cannibal was potentially on Dragonstone even before the Targaryens arrived. And I think I get the feeling that's probably not true. That's probably one of those tall tales that these small folk tell, and a little bit more of that unreliable narrator trope that George plays with in Fire and Blood. If Cannibal was on Dragonstone before the Targaryens even arrived, that would make Cannibal, close to as old as Balerion the Black freaking Dread, and would make that dragon absolutely massive and formidable. And we have heard George confirm that Vagar and Vermithor are the two biggest dragons alive in the world during the Dance of the Dragons. Maybe Cannibal could be the third biggest overall. That's very possible. Cannibal is the oldest of the wild dragons and certainly the most ferocious. And hopefully we'll get him. I really hope we get some Cannibal at some point. Cannibal is awesome.
Yeah, he seemed like he should be big. Maybe not as big as those other two, but I think he's going to be pretty big.
He should be big. He should be big. I mean, he is referred to as the biggest of the wild dragons, and Sheepstealer isn't a small dragon either. Sheepstealer is like 70, 80 years old, I believe, by the time the Dance of the Dragons comes around. So Sheepstealer is a pretty big and formidable dragon. Sheepstealer actually kills more dragon seeds than any of the dragons combined. Sheepstealer takes out more than anybody. Very ferocious dragon. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what goes on there. I can't wait to see what they have in store with us for the Dragon Seeds. I think a lot of us are really looking forward to seeing what they're going to do. I guess I know I am. Should be interesting. And yeah, hopefully Cannibal will appear in season 3. I really hope so. I really hope so. And yes, absolutely, Jess, we are definitely going to see some people fail. And I saw somebody in the chat say that maybe Vermithor could play the part of Cannibal on the show in terms of Silver Danes. That is very possible. Absolutely. I could very well seeing that happen. Yeah, I like it. Do you think we will get some blue flame with Tessarion? I don't, unfortunately. As much as I really, really want to see that blue flame from Tessarion. And that's one thing for anyone who hasn't read the books. The dragons in the books all have different color dragon fire. Like Sunfire, the dragon Sunfire is golden scales. His flame is actually gold. It's straight up gold. Like Sunfire, like you mentioned, Sunfire is blue in the books. Even his dragon fire is blue. So the dragons have different color fire in the books, but it seems like the show is going for these, the kind of standard color for fire throughout. And that was pretty much set up in Game of Thrones. Their hands are tied in some ways where they have to keep their continuity in line with Game of Thrones. And since Game of Thrones kind of has all the dragons as the same color fire, it looks like they kind of just had to follow that same suit here for House of the Dragon as well. But no, I'm not really expecting to see blue flame as much as I really wish I would love to see it. I'm not really expecting it, I guess. But who knows? I guess we'll have to wait and see. I guess we'll have to wait and see. And there it is. Radical Z said, yeah, Vermithor could kill Danes. Yeah, Vermithor could very easily step into that role and do the cannibal part that Cannibal does. Very, very possible. Very possible. There is a scene on the season final trailer that shows the seeds lined up on the Dragon Pit platform. You can clearly see a bunch of people alongside Ulf and Hugh. Yes, there is that very interesting shot of multiple dragon seeds. And a lot of people were pointing out there's even one picture that looks an awful lot like nettles in the bunch. When you see a bunch of dragon seeds, they're all standing on, it looks like they're on Dragonstone. And yeah, you see a bunch of dragon seeds on top of Hugh Hammer. It seems like there's multiple dragon seeds there. And one of them even really kind of fits the description of nettles. So when that picture leaked, a lot of people thought, okay, that must be nettles. But I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I did see that leaked pic. It was very interesting. Very interesting. Do you think it will be only Dragon Seed fails that we can exceed next episode? No, I think it will be Dragon Seed fails and regular fails. And I think I pointed this out in my episode 6 trailer breakdown. We get that one scene in the episode 6 trailer of Rhaenyra. It seems like she's in her small council chamber and she's saying, in order to claim a dragon, one must be prepared to die. And she could potentially be talking to Stefan Darkland in that scene, her Queen's Guard member. Because in the book, it isn't just dragon seeds that attempt to claim dragons. Some regular people try to claim dragons as well, including one of Rhaenyra's Queensguard members, Sir Steffan Darklyn. We saw Sir Steffan Darklyn a little bit earlier in the season. He was actually the son of the character that was beheaded in episode 4 before the Battle of Rooks Rest when the Greens take Duskendale. The dude that Kristen Cole beheads, that is the father of Sir Steffan Darklyn. So I could totally see Sir Steffan Darklyn wanting to get revenge on the Greens, and maybe that giving him enough courage to attempt to claim a dragon and maybe getting absolutely roasted for it. So I do get the feeling we are going to see not just dragon seeds attempt to claim dragons. I think we'll see some regular characters do it as well, and hopefully we'll get that very infamous Steffan Darklyn scene from Fire and Blood. But yeah, I think it'll be more than just seeds. I think it'll be more than just seeds. I think Cannibal will appear in the distance shouting, "I ain't no Pokemon, bitches." Yeah, I mean, Cannibal is badass. He's notoriously badass. And I mean, if you're a dragon that has garnered such a reputation where nobody even attempts to claim you during the Red Sowing, yeah, you're certified at that point. You are certified at that point. Absolutely. Absolutely, indeed.
We got a couple super chats from ACC.
Oh, all right. Awesome. Thank you, ACC. Jeremy, will you go over Helena's wall art? Yes, I will definitely. We'll do that tomorrow. Definitely. I will pull up. I have some really good shots of the wall art. Unfortunately, they're not in this folder. But yes, we will definitely go over Helena's wall. I did get some requests to go over the wall art in the Discord recently. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to load them up tonight. I completely forgot about it. That is totally my bad. But yes, I will load up all of the Helena's wall art into this folder, and we'll definitely go over those tomorrow night during our pregame show. I will be doing a pregame show tomorrow night like I do every week, a couple hours before the new episodes of House of the Dragon airs. We will definitely be live right here. And yeah, we'll go over some of the Helena drawings, because there's some very interesting drawings there that could point to Helena seeing visions of the future as far ahead as Game of Thrones. It looks like one of her drawings in particular is a depiction of Daenerys birthing her dragons. So yes, we will definitely go over the Helena drawings in tomorrow's stream. Definitely, ACC, I promise. And we got another $9.99. Thank you so much, $9.99. Think you have missed a super chat. Think you can show and review Helena's murals. Oh, again, do you think Dave and Dan are hating on House of the Dragon? I heard they doubled down for the Game of Thrones ending the other day. I did read something like that as well. I haven't had a chance to actually read the article, so I don't know exactly what D&D said. But I did see the headlines recently of them kind of doubling down in terms of them defending the ending of Game of Thrones. And I guess, that's their right as creators. They feel like they, completed the story to the best of their ability. I don't agree. Myself, personally, I feel like Game of Thrones could have been handled much, much better in those final 2 seasons. That's just my personal opinion. But they're welcome to their opinion as well, even if it's a wrong one. But no, I haven't seen that yet. I'll have to go back and actually read the article and see exactly what they said, because I don't know exactly what they said. I just remembered reading the headline. But thank you so much, ACC, for the $9.99. I appreciate it. And in terms of, are they hating on House of the Dragon? I don't know. I mean, obviously, I don't think they'll ever come out and say anything even remotely close to that. How do they feel personally? I don't know. I don't expect they're hating on it per se. I mean, it's hard to know what someone else is feeling, I guess. But I don't know. I don't think they would be hating on it. I mean, at least they shouldn't anyway. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? You think Dan and Dave are hating or are in any way jealous of House of the Dragon?
Maybe. I think it's gotten compared to the reception to the last season, it's getting a much better reception. So I think that's probably sticks in their craw a little bit, but
yeah,
it is what it is at this point.
It is what it is. Yeah, and maybe some of this is true as well. D&D keep laughing through the pain deep down. That could be it as well. It could just be very painful for them, but they're trying to play it off like it's not bothering them. Because at the end of the day, we're all only human. Humans have feelings at the end of the day. We all have feelings. And yes, as much as Dan and Dave try to probably, not admit it, there has to be a good part of them that, doesn't like the reception that Game of Thrones season 8 got. They have to know that a big portion of the fandom, a overwhelming majority of the fandom really didn't like how the series ended. So,
Yeah.
I mean, as much as they try to make it seem like that stuff doesn't bother them, we're all only human at the end of the day. It must bother them a little bit deep down. It has to. Like, it has to.
Yeah.
We're only
Yeah.
human.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I mean, to their credit, they didn't really have an ending to go for. They kind of had to make it up. Whereas for this, we pretty clear everything is written in is
It's
already
already
written
laid
down.
out.
Yeah, it's already
Yeah.
laid out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the source material's there. At no point is Ryan Condal going to have to kind of go off script and make up the main points. They'll have to make up a lot of the in between because Fire and Blood doesn't really have much dialogue. There's not a whole lot of factual information. A lot of it is conjecture with 2 or 3 different versions of events sometimes. So they're going to have to fill in, the blanks along the ways. But in terms of like the main overall story points, how the dance starts, how it proceeds, and how it ends, yeah, all of that's already been laid out. So they have their blueprint. At least they're not going to have to kind of just go off half cocked like Dan and Dave had to in those last seasons. So that's true.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
That is true. This is the episode of the Food Riot. The first 2 seeds and Ulfthar and Ulf and Hugh arriving at Dragonstone. And yes, it looks like the riot is happening in episode 6. The tensions among the small folk of King's Landing are eventually going to reach a boiling point, and it looks like that is happening in this episode. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. There should be a very interesting scene to see this kind of riot breaking out here in King's Landing. And of course, the riot breaks out while Alicent and Helena are out there walking the streets of King's Landing. So this should be pretty interesting to see. How exactly are Helena and Alicent going to get out of this? Are the gold cloaks going to be able to keep them safe? We see a few gold cloaks here trying to keep the crowd back. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this riot plays out and what exactly, what effect it's going to have on the city and the people of King's Landing as a whole. So, yeah, I guess it should be interesting.
Yeah.
I guess it should be interesting. Let me pull this up here.
Seems like a bad idea that to kind of lock everybody in. That doesn't seem like that's a good idea. And how they're going to enforce that, I don't know how.
Yeah.
People just get angrier and angrier.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's gonna get to a point where people are gonna say enough is enough, and they want out. Nobody wants to be locked inside some kind of city, especially a city where the people of King's Landing are fearing some kind of dragon retaliation for the death of Meleys.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, locking those city gates is only going to turn the people of King's Landing against you that much more. So yeah, it's not the strategically, it's not the best choice on Aemon's part. In the book, it's Alicent that orders the gates closed, but on the show, they have Aemon do it. Small change, but same overall effect.
Right.
So yeah, interesting, very interesting. To the family. Fan spin-off ideas. Mine, I'd love to see Aegon's Conquest and Dorne playing hide and seek, says ACC. Ooh, interesting. Very interesting as well. Yeah, I really hope Aegon's Conquest does get greenlit. We do know that Mattson Tomlin is currently writing a script for season 1 of an Aegon's Conquest series, and hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on air because wood burns. Hopefully that one gets picked up for a full season treatment, because that would be phenomenal to see Aegon's Conquest in live action. All of those just iconic moments from the Conquest, from all of the crazy battles, the burning of Harrenhal, the Field of Fire, the Last Storm, the forging of the Iron Throne, the forging or the creation of the Kingsguard. There's so many iconic moments that happened during the Aegon's Conquest. And then, like you said, the Dornish plotline as well would be probably the most interesting part of that show. Nobody wants to see a one-sided slaughter for multiple seasons. You want to see them inject some drama into it and some real stakes, some real consequences. And that's exactly where the Dornish plotline kind of comes into play. So yeah, I hopefully the Aegon's Conquest show does get greenlit. I'm praying that it gets greenlit. But if I could have a spinoff on any time period or any subject in all of A Song of Ice and Fire. I believe I've said this in the past, but for me, it's always going to be a Stark kind of origin show. I want to see a Bran the Builder show, a Stark origin show proper. I know there's not really much source material on that yet. George hasn't really filled out the line of House Stark as well as he's filled out the Targaryens yet. I'm sure he will at some point, or hopefully he will at some point. That's why I would love to see a Stark version of Fire and Blood. That is my freaking dream. But no, I would love to see a Bran the Builder series, the formation of House Stark, the building of the wall, the original Long Night. I would love to see a show surrounding on that stuff. But secondly, if I had to pick any other time period, it would probably be a spinoff on the Blackfyre Rebellions, the first Blackfyre Rebellion going from there on. I feel like the Blackfyre Rebellion is probably one of the most interesting and intriguing time periods in Westeros, and definitely has some of the more intriguing characters. There's so many fascinating characters that are alive during the Blackfyre Rebellion time period. So yeah, those would probably be my two choices if I could have any spinoff: Blackfyre Rebellion or Bran the Builder. That is what I would go. What about you, Snug? Do you have, if you could have any Game of Thrones spinoff made anywhere, is there one character that you would like to see a show built around, or any event that you would like to see a show built around?
I don't know. Maybe the Voyages. I forget who it was, but the whoever who did the Sea Voyages. That would be kind of interesting.
The 9 Voyages of Corlys, which is actually in pre-production right now. Hopefully that gets greenlit.
Cool.
That was recently turned. It was recently. At first, they were planning a live-action Corlys Velaryon spinoff, but I think HBO, wised up and realized how incredibly expensive a show like that would be able to film in terms of all of the very intricate and exotic locations that Corlys goes to. So they have switched the Corlys Velaryon series from live action to animated. So they are currently working on an animated Corlys Velaryon prequel series. Hopefully it gets greenlit.
Cool.
Hopefully it gets greenlit. Leo V for $2 and House of the Dragon Season 2 with Daemon versus Aemon face-off. Oof. Now, as much as I want to see the face-off between Aemon and Daemon in the Battle Above the God's Eye, I think Season 2 is a little too soon to have that happen. But I cannot wait to see where they end Season 2. And I guess that's a very interesting question. I think a lot of us have been kind of asking ourselves, where exactly are they going to end Season 2 in terms of some of the big events that are on the horizon and where we are right now, knowing there's only 3 episodes left? Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see where they end Season 2. But yeah, I cannot wait to see the Battle Above the God's Eye. I think that's going to be the best episode in the entire series if they get it right. And after seeing the dragon combat during the Battle of Rooks Rest, it looks like they know what they're doing when it comes to portraying some proper dragon combat. Because that was, I, as much as I have had some criticisms for some other episodes, episode 4 was phenomenal. And the dragon combat in particular was choreographed and laid out so well. So yeah, I cannot wait to see some more dragon on dragon action, in particular the Battle Above the God's Eye. That'll be great. Can't wait to see that one. What was that library in the books that lost history? What was that library in the books that lost history? I don't know what you're referring to, ACACC. What is the library in books? Oh, in terms of, are you speaking about Alicent in episode 5 when she talks about where are Viserys' books? Is that what you're referring to? Yeah, we see Aegon, Alicent is looking for a bunch of Viserys' books. And for me, I think that Alicent is probably trying to look for some kind of confirmation that Rhaenyra was telling the truth about the prophecy of Ice and Fire. I get the feeling Alicent was looking for those books because she wanted to find some kind of evidence that this prophecy of Ice and Fire that Aegon had was real. So I get the feeling that's probably why she was looking for those books, but it looks like Aegon removed the books. He said he didn't destroy them, he just had them removed. But I don't know where they are. Have no clue where he brought them to or if she'll ever find them. Not sure. Not sure. Yeah, did they go to the flames? I hope not. I certainly hope they didn't go to the flames. You don't want to destroy that much Targaryen history. You don't want to destroy that much Targaryen history. But thank you so much for the super chats. You guys have been so generous tonight. I can't thank you enough. Thank you. Am I all caught up on them? I am all caught up on them now. Awesome stuff. But yeah, guys, it's about that time. We are getting closer and closer. Again, less than 24 hours away from season 2, episode 6. And this is very well possible as well. I personally don't think the dragon seeds will be sowed until episode 7. Episode 6, I think, will have the dragon seeds give it a shot, and they might change the timeline to have Adam come in before the sowing. That's very well possible as well. And I tend to agree with you in terms of the dragon seed storyline. I don't think it's going to be playing out in just one episode. I feel like it's going to start in episode 6. But I think it will probably conclude in episode 7 or maybe even in episode 8. Who knows? But I do tend to agree with you, Alex. I don't think the Dragon Seed storyline is going to start in episode 6 and be wrapped up in episode 6. I definitely think it's going to carry over at least until episode 7, probably.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
I agree. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. But yeah, there we have it, folks. Episode 6 is just around the corner. Now, before we dive out, I will take a quick look at some of these awesome stills that were just uploaded. We got some really interesting episode 6 stills that I wanted to show everybody. We got this one right here, of course, and we saw this in the trailer, of course, Aemond greeting his brother Aegon in bed. Cannot wait to see what this scene is all about, and it looks like Aemond might even be bringing him Blackfire. That looks like that is the Blackfire sword right here in Aegon's hand. So maybe Aemond is bringing him Blackfire. Cannot wait to see this scene. It almost looks like Aemond might even be threatening Aegon a little bit. If the trailer is any indication, at one point, Aemond leans into Aegon and seems to be pressing on one of his wounds. And you can even see Aegon's face kind of wincing in pain. If you watch that trailer on slow-mo, you'll know what I'm talking about. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what's going on in this scene. Could Aemond potentially be trying to scare his brother into staying quiet about what happened at Rook's Rest? Who knows? Can't wait to see. We also have this still, of course. We saw this one a little bit earlier of Alice Rivers and the famous owl, and it looks like they are in the Godswood of Harrenhal, or near the Harrenhal tree, the heart tree at Harrenhal. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's going on here. Hopefully, this will be the end of Daemon's DMT Harrenhal trip.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Hopefully. Shot of Rhaenyra at Dragonstone. We get this shot that we saw in the trailer of Alicent coming up to Aemond and saying, "Weren't the misdeeds of your childhood sufficiently avenged?" And Alicent knows what Aemond is kind of turning into, and she said as much in one of the previous episodes. You know what Aemond has turned into. So it seems like part of her is afraid of Aemond and what he might potentially do, because he is one of those characters that's kind of capable of anything. And Alicent sees the kind of the path that Aemond is going on, and she's kind of confronting him here in this scene, saying, haven't the wrongs of your childhood been sufficiently avenged? So I'm looking forward to seeing what goes on there. That should be an interesting scene. Should be an interesting scene. We got Alicent and Helena visiting the Sept, and I get the feeling the riot in King's Landing is most likely going to start breaking out when they leave the Sept. During the trailer, when we see that little glimpse of the riot, it looks like the Sept is in the background. So I get the feeling we're going to see Alicent and Helena traveling to the Sept, and when they leave the Sept, I get the feeling that is when the riot is going to break out.
It is. It is odd to me in the show that they show Alicent kind of walking around with no guard. I don't know if that's intentional, that she just doesn't do that, and that's going to play into the riots, or whether she just doesn't. That's just something that left out. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
It does stick out.
It does seem like. Yeah, it does seem like she travels kind of light when she goes to the Sept. It seems like she, maybe has a guard or two, but not nearly as guarded as she should be, for sure, especially for being the Queen Dowager.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good point. We get this, of course, of Rhaenyra and Mysaria, and it's been very interesting to see the relationship between Rhaenyra and Mysaria develop. I definitely feel like they're going a similar path as the book, in terms of Mysaria becoming a really trusted confidant of Rhaenyra. Seems like they're heading in a similar direction with their characters. So that should be fun to see. We get this shot of Rhaena in the Vale with young Joffrey. And maybe this might be the episode where we finally see young Joffrey's dragon Taraxes. That was reportedly one of the new dragons that we were supposed to be getting in season 2. So maybe we'll get a glimpse of him in this episode. And there were rumors that Rhaena will be claiming Sheepstealer in the Vale, of all places. I don't know what Sheepstealer would be doing in the Vale, but I'm looking forward to seeing how it all plays out nonetheless. I got to say, the costumes look so good in season 2. They really, really look good. We got this shot of Daemon in the Harrenhal, in front of the Harrenhal heart tree, and I get the feeling this is probably a similar scene to when Alice Rivers is also down there with the owl. This looks like it's probably the same scene, so it should be interesting to see what's going on there. We do get a glimpse in the trailers for season 2 before the series aired. We get that one shot of Daemon seemingly looking like he's getting ready to behead someone with the Harrenhal heart tree just behind him. And after all of the stuff that transpired in episode 5 and how the Blackwoods clearly defied Daemon's orders by carrying the Targaryen flag into battle when they went into Bracken Lands, Daemon specifically says to the Blackwoods that the crown can't be seen doing certain things, and the Blackwoods still flew the Targaryen banner into Bracken Lands. So I get the feeling maybe in an attempt to appease the River Lords, maybe Daemon might execute Willem Blackwood. At least that's just a theory. Just a theory. Another shot of Rhaena and Joffrey in the Vale. We get a nice shot of Corlys and Alan of Hull at the docks. So I'm looking forward to seeing what goes on there and how they are going to be kind of brought into the Dragonseed storyline. And it's going to be interesting to see if Alan of Hull tries to claim a dragon as well. In the books, both brothers try to claim dragons, with only one of them being successful and the other one getting a little bit burnt as a result, but not too bad. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen on the show. Will we see Alan try to claim a dragon as well as Adam? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Get this shot of Jace and Rhaenyra. This is from the trailer when we have Jace saying to Rhaenyra that we need Daemon. And yes, a lot of this is hinging on Daemon. They're really relying on Daemon to rise this Riverlord host, and he hasn't done it yet. We'll see if he can get it done in this episode. We got Aegon and his nice little Westerosi medieval splint there with his leg all broken. That was one of the gnarly scenes in last week's episode 2 when we actually saw setting the bone. I hate seeing shit creepy, like that. I hate that shit. I've had many broken bones over my day too, so I'm no stranger to broken bones in terms of all of my basketball and boxing days. I've broken many wrists and fingers and arms and stuff, but it's just, I don't know, for me it's just something I never get used to. I hate seeing broken bones. It just gives me a little bit of the willies. And that scene really delivered that. Here we got Rhaena at the Vale as well in her chambers. We get this shot of Alicent and her brother at King's Landing. We have this shot of a small council chamber meeting. Alicent is clearly realizing that her authority is waning more and more by the day. Nobody is listening to her anymore, and it's going to be interesting to see how she kind of handles that.
And nobody's really listening to Rhaena either. Each of them are kind of being shut out by their councils.
Rhaenyra, they're both having some trouble in terms of getting a lot of pushback from the small councils. They're definitely they're definitely both feeling that for sure. We got that shot of Alicent and Aemond again.
Although there was one line where I forget which one of them said it, but one of the lords said something about there not being a war, but they had just had the war in the Stepstone, so it wasn't like there had been peace, for a long time.
Yeah, true. I mean, technically, the war in the Stepstones wasn't a Westerosi war because it took place in outside of the country, down in the Stepstones.
Okay.
But yes, but it was still wartime where troops from Westeros were fighting. So I get your point in terms of not always being like full on peace. That is a good point. We get this shot of Larys, and it looks like Larys is sitting at the bed of Aegon, if I had to guess. And we get that really famous line from Fire and Blood when Larys goes up to Aegon and says, "You've already written yourself into legend, Your Grace. You survived Dragonfire." And I get the feeling we might see that scene in episode 6. I get the feeling we might see that scene Daemon down in the Godswood again. We got Alice Rivers. We got Aemond at a small council chamber, really enjoying his role sitting at the head of the table. I see. He's enjoying it. He's enjoying it. So there we have it, folks. And of course, this last one right here of Rhaenyra getting ready to go straight Visenya on people. We have seen Rhaenyra has been reading up on Visenya in these last few episodes, and it seems like she's taking inspiration from Visenya, who was very much a warrior Targaryen queen, the first wielder of Dark Sister. So it looks like Rhaenyra is taking a page out of Visenya's book. So there we have it, folks. There we have it. Episode 6 is just around the corner, and I cannot wait to see how this Dragon Seed storyline plays out. I cannot friggin' wait. I cannot friggin' wait. And of course, we have this other very interesting still that I also wanted to show. I think I showed it earlier, but really awesome, awesome shot of the dragon sea smoke. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh, it's up here more. That's right. Here we go. Sorry, guys. Sorry. This shot. I love this shot of Sea Smoke getting ready to blast some dragon seeds, most likely. So, yes, all of you that were kind of predicting in the chat that we're going to see many dragon seeds fail, I definitely think we're going to see some dragon seeds fail, and we are going to see some people get roasted. After all, the Red Sowing was a very bloody event in the books. So here we have it, folks. The dragon seeds are coming. We got a $2 super chat from Luna Cascade. Thank you so much, Luna. Do you like the tapestry intro compared to Game of Thrones? Ooh, interesting. Now, I will say this. I like the tapestry in Season 2 a lot better than the bloodline that they did in Season 1. I get what they were going for in Season 1 in terms of following the bloodline from Aegon the Conqueror all the way down. I get what they were going for, but unless you were like a hardcore book reader and really knew the Targaryen family tree, I imagine that intro was probably very hard to follow if you didn't read the books. So I like the Season 2 intro a lot better than the Season 1 intro. I like the tapestry way better than the bloodline. But when it comes to the Game of Thrones intro, that will always be my favorite. The overlay of the map, you know, seeing all the different locations, going from the Wall to Winterfell to King's Landing, and anytime the show introduced a new kingdom, you always saw it represented in the intro. So yeah, for me, the Game of Thrones intro will probably always be my favorite, but I do appreciate the tapestry better than in Season 1. But what about you, Snug? Do you like the Game of Thrones opening of the overlay map, or do you like House of the Dragons opening?
I like the tapestry.
Awesome.
I think I like
Awesome.
the way they did it. Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's again, I think it's a very big improvement from the bloodline in Season 1. It's a really cool kind of thing they're going with. Yeah. And especially that they've been changing it. They've been adding things to the tapestry to, reflect the events on the show. Like they added a blood and cheese thing to it. So I'm enjoying them kind of upgrading the tapestry as the season goes along. That's been
I
pretty
didn't
cool.
notice that. I got to pay more attention. I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it's very subtle. You got to really pay attention for it, and it's very subtle. But you can see a little bit of the differences there. And we have this one from 199 from ACC to you, Snuggle. What is your most memorable Game of Thrones moment? Oof. Do you have a favorite scene in Game of Thrones?
I don't know. I like the first season stuff with Viserys. I think that's the stuff I've gotten the most out of.
Oh, and House of the Dragon? What about Game of Thrones?
I never watched it. I haven't watched it.
Oh, Snug is
I've
not
never watched
Game of
it.
Thrones yet. Oh man, you're gonna have to watch it after House of the Dragon.
Yeah. I gotta watch it eventually. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, you're not alone. There's actually, I've been not surprisingly, but I've seen a lot of people have been getting into House of the Dragon and haven't watched Game of Thrones, and that's totally cool. You can definitely watch House of the Dragon without having seen Game of Thrones. There might be some small references that might go over your head, but for the most part, you're going to understand what's going on if you only watch House of the Dragon. So I appreciate that Ryan Condal has filmed it that way, where you don't necessarily have to see Game of Thrones to understand House of the Dragon. But yeah, the stuff for Viserys, awesome answer, man. It's just really good scenes. Really good scenes. But thank you, ACC, for the 199. Yeah, there's so many good, memorable moments from Game of Thrones. I don't think I could even pick a one overall. Those first 3 seasons have so many memorable moments. I don't know if I could even pick one. But thank you so much. And we got another 199 from ACC. OMG, Snuggle, we need to get you caught up. And we will. We definitely will. We'll get Snug properly caught up. And after he is properly caught up, we'll get in here and maybe we'll do some after House of the Dragon season 2 ends. Maybe we'll go back and do some kind of throwback Game of Thrones live streams where we go back and revisit some of our favorite moments from Game of Thrones as Snug is watching it, maybe. That could be pretty fun, because I'm always down to revisit some of the earlier seasons of Game of Thrones. As much as I really didn't like the final 2 seasons, it didn't ruin the entire show, at least for me personally. The way I look at Game of Thrones, it's one of those things where the journey was just better than the destination, but I still enjoy the journey. I still actually go back and rewatch seasons of Game of Thrones all the time. Like, I'll go back and rewatch the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones often, still to this day, just because I love it so much. So as bad as the ending was, it didn't ruin the entire show for me personally, because I still have very fond memories of those first 3 seasons. And again, it's just one of those things where the journey was better than the destination. That's kind of how I try to look at. Maybe that's just my mind's way of rationalizing it. Maybe I could be biased, but I still look back on Game of Thrones with fondness, especially for those first few seasons. But maybe we can go back and watch some. Maybe we can go back and watch some famous Game of Thrones episodes. Skip the bells, says Leo V. What the salami? What the salami? That's one of the best lines in the entire show. It killed Lomi. What the salami? Oh man, the Hound was. You're gonna love the Hound, Snug. Like, if you do get into Game of Thrones, you are going to love the Hound. He's got some of the best friggin' one-liners. And yes, favorite, Tywin riding his horse into the throne room like Mr. Big, and just dropping a big old shit in the throne room as well. Yeah, you're going to love Tywin Lannister as well. He's such a good character. He's the head of House Lannister in the first few seasons of Game of Thrones. Absolutely phenomenal character. Probably one of the best actors on that entire series. So maybe we'll do that. Maybe after House of the Dragon ends, if you guys are up for it, if it's something that the chat would be interested in anyway, maybe we'll go back and kind of revisit some of our favorite Game of Thrones episodes and do some streams on them. I would totally be down for that. Totally be down. And last but not least, thank you so much, ACC. This fun is to have Snuggle and alike to jump on a Game of Thrones journey under Jeremy's channel. We'll hold hands. You have many crazy moments to enjoy. And honestly, I almost am envious of Snuggy's position. I really wish I could just erase the memory of Game of Thrones just so I can go and rewatch it all over again for the second time. It's that freaking good, especially at the beginning. I kind of envy you, Snuggy. You get to experience all of this for the first time, and I think you're going to love it. I think you're going to love it, especially at the beginning. Especially in the beginning.
Yeah. Well, it's those last seasons it's that last season that has kind of held me back from getting invested in it. So, but if it's worth it, I'll check it out.
I think it's worth it. I think as bad as the ending is, and the ending is bad. I'm not a big fan of the ending, I will admit. There's aspects of the ending I like, but the ending overall, I'm not a big fan of. But I still really, really enjoy, the journey. The first few seasons, and even up to season 4 and 5 are still really good. It's really only the final season that's outright bad. Even season 7 has some, good redeemable scenes. We'll do that after House of the Dragon season 2 ends. If it's something you guys will be up for, we'll go back and revisit some of our favorite moments from Game of Thrones, because there are some good ones. Game of Thrones season 1 in particular is my favorite season of television anywhere ever. I love season 1 of Game of Thrones the best. I just absolutely love it. But we'll do that. We will definitely do that. But big thank you to each and every one of you. Oh, we got one final one from ACC, Blood and Cheese out. Thank you, my friend. And Snug will actually have a chance to experience the dreaded Red Wedding for the first time, which is...
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Oof. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. And yes, as Betrayed King is pointing out, after season 2 of House of the Dragon ends, we should have From season 3 not too long after. So I guess that's what we'll do. When House of the Dragon season 2 ends, we'll probably have like a month or so in between that and when From season 3 airs. So in that in between time, maybe we'll spend that time diving back into some of our favorite Game of Thrones episodes. I would definitely be down for that. Absolutely. But thank you guys so much. And as Snuggie says, thank you all so much for the support tonight in these super chats. You guys were so freaking generous. It is not necessary. You guys just showing up and hanging out and giving us your comments and theories is more than enough overall. But I can't appreciate each and every one of you enough. You guys have been so supportive. So we will be here every single week, breaking all things House of the Dragon down. When From comes around, we will be diving into all things From. And I would strongly urge all of my House of the Dragon fans, those of you who haven't watched From yet, the TV series is called From, F-R-O-M, and you can watch it on Amazon Prime, or you can watch it on the MGM Plus streaming service. It is the best show that is on TV currently, at least in my opinion. In my opinion, anyway.
I agree completely.
Yeah,
it's great.
It is so freaking good. I love everything that From is doing. So if you are a House of the Dragon fan and you want to kind of continue and join in on the fun for From season 3 and beyond, I would highly recommend getting out there, checking out season 1 and season 2 of From, seeing if it's a show that you might like. And if you do, come back and hang out with us as we dive into all things From season 3. If you were to dive into From right now, you would have more than enough time to watch season 1 and season 2 by the time season 3 comes around. There's 10 episodes in each season, and each episode is freaking phenomenal. So I would highly recommend checking out From if you haven't already. And to end it off, end with Cregan Stark's dialogue. Absolutely. You got it. You got it. We will get one more Cregan Stark before the road, to hit the road. But again, big thank you to each and every one of you. I will be live tomorrow night, 2 hours or so before episode 6 loads up on HBO. So definitely come back and hang out with us tomorrow for our House of the Dragon episode 6 pregame show. We will be diving into more things for episode 6. We'll probably take a deeper look at the episode 6 trailer tomorrow night as well. I know we didn't go crazy in depth in it tonight, but tomorrow for the pregame show, we will dive into all things episode 6, take a look at what we can expect for the Dragon Seeds and everything else as we enter the final 3 episodes of House of the Dragon season 2. Man, can't believe only 3 episodes left. This season has whipped by. Absolutely whipped by. But again, big thank you to each and every one of you. Come and hang out with us tomorrow night. And until next time, everybody, stay safe out there, guys. Be kind to one another. And as always, keep those tinfoil hats on, folks. And I will see you on the next one.
Duty is sacrifice. It eclipses all things, even blood. All men of honour must pay its price. North owes a great duty to the 7 kingdoms, one older than any oath. Since the days of the first men, we have stood as guardians against the cold and the dark. But my ancestor, Torrin Stark, began a tradition by making an offering at the onset of winter. 1 in 10 men from our household was to be chosen to fortify the watch. This is not a sentence, but an honour. A duty embraced by all who serve the North. Even by mine own kin. The North must stand ready. Winter is coming.
Kings. Fire. And blood. choose kings. Dragons did.
The threat of war looms.
There is no war so hateful as a war between kin.
I mean to fight this war and win it.
I will not be thought weak. I wish to spill blood.
And no war so bloody as a war between dragons.